Katie. Can you hear me?
I can. I can hear you. Can you hear us, Ms. Beth?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. I'm excited. And I have coffee.
So as everybody is coming in, this is, I'll say this a couple of times, but this is not your normal Zoom conference. This is called a webinar, which means there will be panelists, and the panelists are the only ones that will share their screen. The rest are participants, but our participants, everybody who's coming in right now, some are on their cell phones, some are using their computers. Just know that if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box, and we will be addressing those and gathering those for the end. So I think we'll start in about 5 minutes. I know there's people that are logging on still and trying to get registered. So we'll do that very soon.
Yeah, might as well. Cream and sugar, black. I want black.
Sorry. I was playing with buttons.
You wanted to unmute me? That's a first.
Ooh, I just love to see everybody logging in. We're excited to have everybody coming in.
Hey, do y'all mind real quick if I just offer up a word of prayer?
Yes.
I think that'd be fantastic.
Because nobody can see us just yet, right?
They can.
Oh, good morning.
Panelists are, attendees are logging in right now.
Okay, great. So just offer up a word of prayer. Lord Jesus, I just thank you for this opportunity for us to come together to really lift up your children around our state, that we would use this opportunity to further your plan in helping our children be successful in our communities and around our state, and to show them that we are loved and we represent you in their communities and in their homes. And I lift up the parents and the pastors and everyone that's coming on board this morning, that you would allow us to speak and your words, and your will be done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
It's great to see everybody logging in. Again, for those who are just coming in, our attendees, this is a Zoom webinar, which means that you guys are going to be able to watch our panelists. The people that you see the faces of are the ones that will be talking. My name is Katie McKelvin. If you've not met me, a lot of you receive emails from me. I'm the director of Louisiana Fosters. So I'm gonna play a few videos for us, and then we'll get started. I know a lot of people are registering right now. I think there was they're trying to figure out how to get in. So we're gonna give some people a little grace and see if we can get those people in. But I'm gonna play a couple of videos, and then we'll get started. Apparently we're having some hearing difficulties with that. Let me work that out really quickly.
Let me know if y'all can hear it.
Hello, I'm Governor John Bell Edwards.
And I'm First Lady Donna Edwards. Thank you for stopping by Louisiana Foster's website. It's our initiative to make the foster care system, Louisiana's children, our children, a better place for all of us.
At any given time, there are about 4,000 children in the foster program in Louisiana. And sadly, there are not enough families available. And that's what Louisiana Fosters is about. It's connecting kids with families.
Having a place to come home to, the word home, you know, gives you a feeling of safety and security and someone to love you. And we both have been so fortunate to experience that and give that. And so, you know, for others to step up and share that home and offer that to these children is such a blessing.
Obviously, family is the most important building block in society. And that's why having a good, wholesome, nurturing environment is critically important for our children.
Thank you so much for stopping by Louisiana Foster's website. We're excited about your investment in the foster care program, the foster care children, Louisiana's children, our children.
All right.
Our great caring for God's children. And it our greatest responsibility is caring for God's children. And at any given time in Louisiana, we have over 4,000 children in foster care. But we also have over 4,000 churches.
If every church recruits one family willing to foster one child, and that church family wraps themselves around that foster family in support of that child, we can change the direction of that child's life, their future, and the future of our state.
While not everyone has been called to be a foster parent, we are all called to support those who have. And there are so many ways to lend a helping hand, whether through volunteering our time tutoring, babysitting, providing a new coat for the winter, or helping to pay for Little League or dance lessons.
You don't have to open your home to make a difference in the life of a foster child. You just have to open your heart. One church, one family, one child.
Okay. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Gonna get a thumbs up from my panelists? Perfect. All right, we're gonna get this rolling. I'm gonna go over a little bit about what this is gonna look like. We have panelists. All the panelists are the ones that you guys see. Everybody say hey to our panelists. We're extremely excited that we have you guys here today. My name is Katie McKelvin. I am the director of Louisiana Fosters. I make 1 year today, really, because I got hired at the last summit. And we have been running ever since then. We've had a lot of obstacles, as everyone has this past year, but we are doing the best that we can to promote the involvement of churches in our children's lives of foster care. So this is what the summit is about. It's about our initiative, One Church, One Family, One Child, and just the importance of the church being involved in that and all the key pieces that the church plays in the foster care system and what you can do. So even if you're on this call as someone who works for DCFS, some of our CASA and our CAS members are on here. There's also some churches leadership on here. Any of those people, we just want to speak to the side of you that whoever may attend some sort of faith-based church or in a congregation, what can you do in your environment that you are as far as the church is involved. So with that being said, we're going to start off our summit with the First Lady of Louisiana, Donna Edwards. She and Governor John Bel Edwards is our Louisiana's 53rd governor and First Lady, have been proudly serving our state since 2016. Our First Lady created the Louisiana First Foundation, which has a threefold mission, which is Teach MAM, which is music, art, movement, fighting against human trafficking, and Louisiana Fosters, which is to network to help foster children and parents with government, nonprofit, businesses, and faith-based organizations to connect throughout Louisiana. So Under Louisiana Foster, she launched One Church, One Family, One Child last year, and that is going to be some of our main focuses of this year. So take it away, First Lady.
Good morning. So this is actually our fourth year of Louisiana Foster Summit, and we're our very first virtual summit slash webinar. Like Katie mentioned, it's a little different. This webinar allows everyone to be panelists, to be participants and hear what we're going to share with you today. And you'll see, the pictures of the panelists, and you'll also have a chat room where you can also, talk to us through that way. And so Katie will guide us through this. But I just want to thank everybody. It's a lot different nowadays. I'm used to looking out into the drawing room and seeing 100 people out there and all kind of pulled in together, shoulder to shoulder, really talking about this important cause. And so I want to thank our sponsors for today. Lee Mallett with Mallett Buildings for sponsoring this summit today. So thank you, Lee, and your company for seeing the value of the foster care system in our state. So we're so excited to have so many of you dedicated and committed to helping our children, and from our DCF workers and our faith-based communities to each and every one of you on this call today. We all play a part. We couldn't do this without our DCFS secretary, Marquita Walters, which I'm so honored to be working side by side with. And in regards to our children, John Bell and I always say foster children are our children, and they belong to the state, they belong to us. And I can tell you those are not empty words. It's something we strongly believe. And that's why Louisiana's Fosters is so important to both of us. It's a statewide resource. The idea was to link the government, nonprofit businesses, faith-based organizations to come together to build a supportive network for our foster children and the parents, and as well as grandparents who are raising grandchildren and other family members who are caring for our children who are in need. So we cannot do this without some pretty incredible partners, including, like I mentioned, Department of Children and Family Services, the Casey Family Program, and Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. They've been incredible to our state and to DCFS. The goal of foster care is to strengthen the families and to help children return to their families after their parents receive the supportive services they need to address the issues that cause them to be placed into foster care. In fact, last year, more than about 2,100 children were reunited with their families. But when that's not possible, DCFS works to find them a loving forever family. So since 2016, when we came into office, Louisiana has achieved a record number of adoptions in the first term, so the first 4 years, we were able to put 3,311 children together with their forever families throughout our state. And we're so grateful to all of those foster families who took those beautiful children in and made them their own. So just to give you a little breakdown, because it was a pretty exciting time those first 4 years. 2016, of course, we had the flood and the shootings here in Baton Rouge. It wasn't a good year as far as that is concerned, but for the adoption, 735 children were adopted by 532 families. And I remember John Bell coming to me and saying, look, this is historical. This is probably not going to ever happen again. And so I remember thinking, he don't know us very well. After 30 years of being married, we're going to get on our knees and we're going to do some praying and working. And so with the Department of Children and Family Services in 2017, we were able to go up to 771 foster children adopted by 548 families. 2018, 912. And I usually get a round of applause there, and it's really hard because I'm not seeing everybody, but 912 children adopted by 631 families. So that was 8% leap over the previous year. And then 2019 is a number that's also great. 893 children were adopted by 661 families. And teen adoptions rose 22%. So that was huge. And I also know that in 2019, our state served more than 7,000 children who were in foster care and 159 youth in extended foster care for ages 18 to 21. So the extended foster care program has continued to grow with another 50 youth served in the first half of 2020. So if you're a parent, then you know how children need us even more sometimes when they get older. I know we have an 18-year-old son, and so you know, we get that call. He just started college, and we're already getting the calls, and so they need that support. They need that help and that parental guidance as they move into their adulthood. Something else we're proud of is that we have also been able to bring more brothers and sisters together and place more teenagers who, as you know, can be more challenging to place. So during this COVID pandemic, DCFS, under the leadership of Secretary Marquita Walters, has been working with courts to facilitate virtual adoptions whenever possible. So from March 16 to June 29, 155 adoptions have been finalized. So a good thank you so much to the DCF workers and all that you're doing to make that happen. We're so proud of the team for bringing those forever families together. Our goal is always to help more parents and children find their forever homes each year. And this goes to the heart of Louisiana Foster's motto, which is everyone can do something. So not long after learning that during any given month, there are approximately about 4,000 children in foster care, I was having this discussion with a friend one night, actually here at the mansion. We were having a reception, and I was talking about the foster care program, and I really wanted to do more in really promoting these children. We were talking about really how the churches were not as involved as they could be. And so how would we do that? And so as the conversation evolved, you know, and talking about there's 4,000 children in foster care, we realized there's actually more than 4,000 churches across our state. And that's when I began the initiative called One Church, One Family, One Child. And for those of you who were on earlier, you heard me talk about that. So my call to action, well, One Church, One Family, One Child, just real quick. So basically, if you saw the video, it means that if every church in our state would consider recruiting one family within your church, and then that one family going through the process of becoming a foster family, and then taking in that foster child, and then that church wrapping themselves around that family and that child. Can you imagine the difference that we can and will make in our state in regards to our children? It is huge. So here is my call to action. You're gonna hear some great information today, and you're gonna hear it firsthand from a lot of professionals and people already working in this space. And listen very closely because you're gonna learn a lot. But at the end of the day, when you say, okay, that sounds really great, but I can't do it today and I can't do it tomorrow, guess what? On Sunday, when you get to your church, you can find out if there's foster parents already in your church. You can find out by a raise of hand in your congregation. Does anybody here know anybody who's a foster parent? And I promise you, you're going to have at least one person raise their hand. So start with that one raised hand and then take the ball and keep rolling it. It will make a world of difference. And it's a way that you can start making a difference immediately right there in your own community. We need our faith-based community to take an active role in helping us to do everything we possibly can do to make sure our children grow up in a safe and a loving environment and have the resources that they need to live successful lives. So I'm excited about today. I'm excited about what we're going to hear and the enthusiasm. And thank you to Katie, Executive Director of One Church, One Family, One Child, and the work she's doing. And she'll tell you more about how we're going to move forward even after today. And I look forward to hearing from all of our panelists. And thank you to our participants who are also listening on. We have over 90 people right now logged in. So thank you for taking the time out of your morning to be a part of this very, very important issue. God bless. Thanks, Katie.
All right. Let's see. There's still a lot of little ins and outs for anybody who's wondering about our Zoom ability. So we are, if you see a little glitch here and there, we're doing our best. Keep the chat box going. If you have any questions, you have any problems, we have people that are addressing those in the chat. But our next guest is Secretary Marquita Garner Walters. She is the Secretary of the Department of Children and Family in Louisiana, and she has been since 2016. She was formerly the Child Welfare Director at DSS under the Blanco administration, and before that, she was the CEO of Prevent Child Abuse in Louisiana. So she's got a long history of advocating for the least of these in our state. Thank you for joining us today.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This feels kind of weird, doesn't it, to be doing the meeting this way. I just have to say I'm so glad that you're here, and we have more people being able to join us by being virtual than we've ever been able to have on site in the mansion. So this is really exciting. It still feels kind of weird, but it's exciting. So I want to take us back a few years to how we began this journey. When very quickly, when the First Lady came into office with her husband, I got invited to the mansion for lunch. And I have to say, I was so excited and so overwhelmed. And from that very first meeting, Donna said, what can I do to help the children of this state? What can I do? How can I use my platform and my voice to talk about foster care and foster children? And I remember, First Lady, it took us 2 or 3 conversations. We talked 2 or 3 different times, and we tossed out ideas, and none of them felt right. And I remember just one day in frustration, the First Lady said, Marquita, what do you need? And I said, what we need is somebody to support the foster parents. Our staff, we came into office facing tremendous staff cuts from the previous administration. And our staff can barely keep up with taking care of the foster kids, and we're doing a terrible job of taking care of the foster parents. So if you can help us figure out how to take care of the foster parents, then maybe we can build the village that we need to take care of the children. Because y'all, we live in this space where everybody deserves, or everybody expects excellence. They expect every single case to be perfect, every single worker to be perfect, every single time. And our children deserve that perfection. And we cannot do it alone. The state system is not designed to do everything that a child needs. We are the state workers, are not the one in the home with that child 24/7. In the middle of the night when they're having nightmares, or when they come home from school and they're tired and they don't want to do their homework, or their best friend hurt their feelings, or they didn't make the cheerleading squad, or couldn't get into band. We're not the ones there, the foster parents are. And so we have to have a strong support system around those foster parents. And that's what Louisiana Fosters is. And that's how it was born, from those early conversations with the First Lady about what we needed. And then came in what I call the unholy trio, or Trinity, or whatever. I call them a lot of things, but Judge Blair Edwards, juvenile court judge, Judge now Dean Madeline Landrew, head of Loyola Law School, and Kim Carver, a foster parent and banker by profession, but a foster parent with real lived experience, who had the nonprofit Crossroads NOLA. And so we began to sit as the 4 of us and just map out what this could look like. And then Casey Family Programs came in with a donation to the First Lady to be able to kick us off and lift the work up and give us the ability to financially do what we needed to do. And so we were off to the races, right? And over the years, you've heard the First Lady talk about the numbers. It's been an incredible journey so far. We're thrilled to have a second term to keep this work going. Every year, as the First Lady said, there'll be about 4,000 kids on any given day in the system. In July, there were 3,800. Over half of them are under 5. Under 5, over half of them. About 1/3 of our kids will be in relative care. Their relatives, somebody in their family, will be taking care of them, even if it's not their birth parent. And kids will stay in foster care anywhere. Some stay a real long time, but most stay about 17, 18 months. Foster care is designed to be short term. It's not designed to be a place where kids grow up. We don't want children languishing in foster care. You're going to hear from a couple of our foster youth, and not all of them have had great stories. Not all of them have had great experience with us. And we want that to be better. We want the system to work the way it's supposed to. For foster care to be a temporary, safe, healing respite for children until they can go back home or to wherever that forever family is going to be. That, as Donna mentioned, the Dave Thomas Foundation has really stepped in and helped us recruit foster families and teach us a lot about finding the best and wonderful, perfect fit for these kids. I have an idol named Marian Wright Edelman, who is the head of the Children's Defense Fund. And all of my adult life that I've known about her, I've always said I wish I could grow up to be Marian Wright Edelman. She has a saying that I never say, like she can say, but she says something to the effect of, children don't come to us with an ear of education and an elbow of child welfare and a knee of health care. Children come to us in their whole self as a whole body, and they need everything that we have to give to them, to take care of them in their entirety. So it isn't about we just do one part of what a child needs. It's about we do all the parts. And that's where you come in. The state is not designed to do all the parts to take care of children. We have to have foster parents, and we have to have people that can support the foster parents in their work. And that's what you're going to hear about today from these panelists that are doing the hard work of taking care of the foster parents so they can take care of the kids. Thank you so much for the work you do. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening to this call. And I hope by the end of the day, if you're not involved, you're going to be involved. And we just can't wait to meet you face to face and see you again. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry, we're having a little bit of stuff going on with the chat. I'm going to introduce our executive director of the Louisiana First Foundation really quick. Her name is Delary Rice, and I'm going to introduce her and let her come on and let her give y'all some information.
Hey, can everybody hear me? Y'all raise your hand if y'all can hear me, panelists. Okay, great. So if you need to ask a question, if you're having some sort of issue with logging in, et cetera, and you need to ask us a question, you can go down to the chat box, which is if you roll your mouse down to the bottom of your screen, there's a little icon that says chat. You can pop that up and then type in. You can select who you want to send the message to. I am the one answering the chat box questions along with Kayla, so you can send it privately if you'd like to. Just select my name, Delary Rice or Kayla McCollum, or you can put something in there to everyone or to just the panelists, and then just hit your enter button and we will get to it and answer them as quickly as we can. I do believe that we have a question and answer session scheduled at the end, and there will be time for you to provide those questions. Kayla and I will try to monitor those during the session and write them all down, but the best time to do it is probably going to be during the break, because that's when we'll be able to grab them all really quickly. So if y'all have any questions, send it in the chat box and we'll get on it right away. Thanks.
All right, so our next panelist is Miss Beth Green. Miss Beth is a project manager of home development in the faith-based community with faith-based community partnership, with DCFS. She's worked with DCFS for 24 years. She also had worked for 5.5 years in the private faith-based nonprofit organization sector. And she helped establish their foster program and foster care support ministries. And Beth also serves as the liaison between DCFS and Louisiana Fosters. Thank you, Ms. Beth. Take it away. Let me unmute you. Can we hear you? Let's see, Ms. Beth, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Can you hear me now, Katie?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, is there an echo with my phone on as well? Okay, great. Just let me know. We're having a few technical difficulties here, but just Katie, jump in at any time if you can't hear me. As you can see from our amazing leader, Marquita Walters, to the First Lady, great things are happening in Louisiana. I'm so honored to be a part of this administration. As Katie read in my bio, I spent many years within the DCFS organization as a foster care worker, as a home development worker in the recruitment and support of foster caregivers. I was then the home development supervisor. And during that time, there began to be a movement within the faith-based community recognizing that foster children are our children. They're our children. We have that responsibility to ensure that the children of our state have every equal opportunity to grow and flourish and be all that they can be. And the church as a whole began to grasp that and gather interest in that. I had a wonderful career at DCFS. I love working with foster caregivers, but I was approached about the opportunity of joining a faith-based organization, Louisiana Baptist Children's Home. I do live in Monroe. The children's home is in Monroe. And it was a very difficult decision, but I began to recognize, you know, government alone is not the answer. Government governs. Community reaches out and develops relationships. So I made the decision to join Louisiana Baptist Children's Home, and as Katie said, I helped them establish their foster care program, but also too their support ministry. In other words, yes, we need foster caregivers, but what can the church as a whole do to support those caregivers, to support those children? Soon you will hear from one of our panelists, Anna Palmer. She's a very dear friend of mine. We started out together in this venture when her ministry first began at her church, and her ministry has now grown into a national nonprofit that is recognized across the United States for being a leader in working with churches as well as other community partners in how to support children and their families. I had the opportunity to come back to DCFS in 2016 with the new administration. I was so excited about the new administration. Of course, I was already familiar with our amazing leader, Ms. Walters, but this new administration truly grasped that these children are our future. Not only these children, but also their families. What amazing, amazing work we're doing. Marquita read reunification efforts, 66% in our state. The national average is 51%. I think we're doing a great, great job in supporting our families. And I think a lot of this has to do with our community partners. We in Louisiana are using the philosophy of the Quality Parenting Initiative. That came with this new administration. Dr. Renda Hodnett, the Director of Child Welfare, truly believes in this work. And we began working with the Quality Parenting Initiative. And what the Quality Parenting Initiative states is that every child, no matter where they live, should have quality parenting, whether in foster care or return to their biological families, but also, too, as a state, what are we going to do as citizens to support these children and families? So within the Quality Parenting Initiative, we also recognize the vast need of community partners. And what we have done within the Quality Parenting Initiative throughout the regions of Louisiana is we've reached out to our community partners, to our faith-based organizations. Phenomenal work is going on across the state. Why do we embrace quality parenting? It is because there again, we know that government alone is not the answer. Government governs, quite certainly we provide oversight, but community builds relationships. I will tell you, in my many years in foster care, I never met a mom or a dad that didn't love or care for their children. But what I did encounter and what I have encountered are so many of our parents don't know how to parent. I know as a parent, I had support. I had wonderful support. I had a community within my church. I had friends and family, but so many of these young parents don't have that. So therefore, our community partners are stepping up to the plate. You know, within the faith-based community, the premise is hope, is it not? It's about hope and redemption. And not only do these children need that opportunity to grow and flourish and be all that they can be, but also our parents. So that's why we are so excited within the department that our community partners are coming on board, not only serving our children, but also serving the caregivers, the foster caregivers that provide day in and day out, but also to those biological families so that they can be all that they can be. I'm asked so many times, what can I do? What can I do to help children and families? Well, I will always state the first thing that you can do is to consider being a foster caregiver. Marquita shared the numbers, but I can tell you, we every day do not have enough quality foster homes to care for children in need. Although our teens make up a fourth of our population, we're in tremendous need of families willing to open their hearts and their homes to teens. And I know when I say the word teen, everybody says, oh, goodness, I don't know if I can do that. You know, my youngest is 22, and we still have a few parenting challenges. I want you to think about when you were a teenager. What supports did you have? When you turned 18, who was there to support you? I'll never forget when I went off to college, just simple things. You know, I had my own apartment. I wanted to cook red beans and rice. What did I do? I called my mom, right? I called my mom for the recipe. So walk me down the aisle. My dad. Well, don't you think that each and every teen and young adult deserves this opportunity? It's about connection. So the first thing that you can do is step up to be a foster caregiver. We have a certification process that consists of training. We provide orientation. We provide support you need. You do go through a home study process. DCFS walks you through that process. But even more than that, what we ask is that you have that heart of hope, that you can see beyond the current situation and recognize that everyone, including our biological families, should have the opportunity to change, but also to be there for our children and our teens, to be that backup support as they move into adulthood. You can find more information about fostering at our Louisiana Fosters website, and I know that Katie is going to share more information about that and how we can learn about community partnership, about foster parenting at the Louisiana Fosters website. But we would be happy to talk with you at any time about how you would like to help, and we can be reached through the Louisiana Fosters website. I want to thank you again for joining today, and we are just so excited that you're grasping this vision with us. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Beth. I think I just love the how much knowledge she has as far as in the faith-based community and DCFS. She's such a valuable asset to DCFS, and we're just grateful that she was able to be on with us today. There was just a question posed in the chat box, and we really want for you, everybody, all 87 of our attendees, to respond. If you go to a church We really, whether you're here from a church or if you are DCFS or CASA or CS, any of those, please, if you go to a church, add that to the chat box. Let us know where you go to church so that we can just have a bigger grasp of who we have and how we can better meet the needs of our foster care kids. So our next guest speaker is Anna Palmer. Anna Palmer is the executive director of Crossroads NOLA, and she has been for 7 years. She is also a foster and adoptive parent. So Anna, we are so glad that you're here with us today. Tell us what you have for us today.
All right, thanks for hearing me. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me? I guess that's the first thing. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna try to do something. Oh, it says I can't share my screen. So I guess that's not possible. Okay, you're gonna make it where I can. That'll just kind of help me stay on track a little bit and not get on my soapbox too much. All right, let's try it again.
It now.
All right, let's see if I can do this. All right. This is always a multi-step process, so I appreciate you guys being so patient. All right, we're all still getting used to Zoom, even months into this. So Crossroads is a nonprofit in the New Orleans area, and our mission is to connect children in crisis to the families, individuals, and opportunities they need to thrive. So that's kind of the 30,000-foot view of what we do. Our purpose is really about children and how do we get them what they need to thrive. And so that looks a lot of different ways when we think about kids in foster care. But for our organization, we've identified 4 things that we can be very intentional about to serve children and families in our state in foster care. So the first thing that we do as an organization is we recruit foster parents from local churches. So when we got started, Beth kind of alluded to this earlier, but we started as a church-based ministry in response to DCFS here in New Orleans, expressing locally a need for more foster parents. And I remember being at a meeting where DCFS said, like, look, you church people, you Jesus people, y'all have got potentially great families in your pews every weekend, but we as the state don't have access to them. Oh, and by the way, isn't this something that you guys should probably be doing anyway? Like if you read your Bible and stuff, isn't this kind of in there? And man, I sat in that meeting and I was just like dumbfounded. One, that like I didn't know about this need in my community. And honestly, at that point, my job at the church was exactly to know about the needs in our community. So I knew that if I didn't really know about this need before that meeting, that my people didn't know, our congregation didn't know about the need. And 2, they were exactly right. Yes, there are very clear mandates from scripture about what it looks like to care for vulnerable people. And I would argue that children in foster care who don't have parents at the time who have the capacity to care for them the way they need to be cared for are the most vulnerable people in our population, in our communities. And so we knew that we needed to get involved. So that being said, I do not come from a child welfare background, so I've definitely been learning along the way. And I tell you that to say that you know, this is work where professionals are very, very important. But as community partners, even if we don't have that professional background, we can learn, and we can learn what it looks like and what it means to come alongside. And we're not always going to do that perfectly, but sitting on the sidelines is not the answer. And so we have to figure it out if we want what's best for our kids, because as Secretary Walters said at the beginning, DCFS, the government does not have the capacity, despite their heart for the work and despite their desire to get kids exactly and get children and get families exactly what they need. They don't have the capacity to do it. And so this is where we can be good partners for children and families, and to the state agency that works so tirelessly to serve them. So we recruit foster families because that's the biggest need children when they're entering foster care have. And then we equip those families to bring hope and healing. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along, but we believe that preparing families is incredibly important to the challenging work that we're asking them to do. And then we support families so that no family fosters alone. You've heard this from our, comments previously, even in this webinar, that that this is a big job. This is an important job, and that foster families need support. So we'll talk a little bit about what Crossroads NOLA does, and maybe perhaps what even you could do as you think about how do you serve children in foster care. And then the fourth thing that we do is we engage in statewide, system-wide partnerships to bring TBRI training, which is a specific trauma-informed model, to communities. And the purpose of that is just to elevate the level of care that children and families receive. So we have a ton of really great organizations doing a lot of fantastic work. But we know that when we have a collaboration that's across the state, that we can make a lot of progress and really just elevating the care that children and families receive. So we'll dive into this a little bit. So when we think about recruit, really this is based on that the research shows that the more foster families that are available to care for children in foster care, the better the outcomes are for kids. So when there are more families available, that means DCFS can make better initial placements, right? So if there's not enough families, the first thing DCFS has to do is just make sure there's somewhere for a kid to go to. So when there's not enough families, sometimes that initial placement isn't necessarily the very best for that child because of a variety of circumstances. But if there were many families who were waiting, DCFS could take a look and say, which family would be best for this kid? So to tell you to kind of give a really personal example about how this plays out in real life, my youngest son, we adopted through foster care. He came to us when he was 4 years old, and we were his sixth family. So that is an unfortunate reality for a lot of children in foster care, to have to bounce around and move from home to home. And part of the issue with his multiple moves is not having enough families available. So for example, the family that he was placed with before he transitioned to us had 3 biological kids, and one was his exact same age. So he was 3 years old when he was placed with them. So if you can imagine a kid who's already had 4 moves as a 3-year-old, he had a lot of challenges and he had a lot of needs. So even though DCFS knew placing him in a family where there's already 3 biological kids, one his exact same age, I mean, having 3-year-olds competing for parental resources is a thing. And so even though that family loved him and cared for him the best they could, they knew that long-term this wasn't ideal. And so eventually he transitioned to us. And so in an ideal situation, right, DCFS has enough foster families where they go, okay, we've got this 3-year-old baby. He's got some challenges and some needs. Who can we place him with that is best equipped to meet his needs, versus the situation that unfortunately DCFS finds himself in often, which is we just need to get this baby in a safe home. We want to create a scenario where DCFS is able to make placement decisions where kids can really thrive. And that's on us. So one of the things that years ago, DCFS had recruiting positions. So that was a job at DCFS to be a foster parent recruiter. That recruiting now falls on home development workers, which already have so much on their plate as far as doing trainings and doing home studies, and there's not a dedicated recruiting position. So when I think about what can communities do, what can churches do, let's step in that gap and do that recruiting piece. In order to do that, we have to really understand the system, and we have to understand what the system is designed to do. Because when we recruit families, we want to make sure that they understand what the purpose of foster care is. In an ideal world, and of course we're not living in an ideal world, but in an ideal world, when a child comes into foster care, that is creating capacity for that child to heal from whatever was happening or not happening in the home that led to them entering foster care. But it's also creating capacity for that birth family to heal and to get what they need, which maybe they missed, right, when they were younger, or some challenges that they have that are a result of trauma in their own lives. And so we want families to understand, hey, look, this is about healing other families and you participating in that, not necessarily you building your own family. And so when we recruit people, we want to recruit people who come into the system understanding what it's about, knowing also that, as we mentioned, sometimes there is a need for, I think it happens about 25% of the time in the state of Louisiana, that children need an adoptive placement. And so when we think about recruiting, we're thinking about this tension that we have, right? And we are inviting people into this space where we say, hey, we want you to love and care for this child as if they were your own, because that's what kids need. And also, we want you to be able to work and support and link arms with the birth family towards reunification efforts. And so that's a tension. That's a hard thing to do, but it's doable, especially for adults who have resilience, who have the capacity to hold both of these things. And so that's what we're asking families to do. And so it's really important when we're recruiting families that we're really transparent and we're really upfront with what exactly is it that we're asking them to do. So when Crossroads goes into churches, which is part of our models, we come into churches and we speak, we host. Well, when churches, I know the situation is probably different across Louisiana right now. In New Orleans, everything's pretty much mostly online and people aren't hosting extra events. But in a pre-COVID world and hopefully in a post-vaccine or whatever scenario we're headed towards, we actually go to churches and we do presentations after the service. But if you're a pastor here today, one of the things that I would challenge you to do is to look at scripture and look at where the Bible talks about caring for the fatherless and caring for the vulnerable, and how can you use that text to point people towards God's heart for this? Because there's absolutely a biblical mandate for caring for children and families. And it is one that it requires sacrificial love, which really is what the Bible is all about. So really encouraging and challenging your people to think about, is this something that God's calling you to do? So recruiting is such an important part of what we can do when we think about helping children and families. So the other thing that we do at Crossroads is we equip families. So we partner with DCFS to provide orientation, which is the first step in the certification process. And again, we're reiterating to our families what foster care is all about. We also, because as an organization, we're investing some support services once they become certified. We actually require families that partner with us to do some additional prep work. So DCFS has a 24-hour training that all foster parents have to go through, which really sets the stage for them to become great foster parents. But we ask them to do even more. So we want people to understand that this is becoming a foster parent is a really big deal. It's a life-changing thing that they're going to do. And so we have them do some additional prep work. And we really, what we're looking for with this additional prep work is, one, are you willing to understand? Can you understand that trauma affects the way kids develop, their brain and their body? And because of that, they may have some challenging behaviors. And because of that, you may need to parent differently. So if you're a parent and you're engaged with us and we're hearing that, man, you've raised, 3 kids and they all turned out great and you know exactly how to parent and you're going to be perfect for this, that's actually a really big red flag for us. We want to hear you say, man, I've done this parenting thing, but I understand that parenting a child who's experienced trauma is going to be different. Can you please teach me what that looks like? And our parenting is very deeply ingrained, based in the way we were raised, maybe the way that we've raised our children if we already have children, and it requires work. And so we tell parents, absolutely, we want you to be able to love kids unconditionally. That's so, so important. But we also want you to be a trauma competent caregiver. And that makes some people's heads spin, but we really believe that that's important. So again, it's holding these both of these things, this idea that yes, love unconditionally, but also understanding that we have to have a competent, trauma-informed caregiver in order to really help these kids and families heal. And then in that equip part, another what we do is we ensure that our families have connection. That is so vital and so important. So we make sure they're connected to one another through events that we do. Foster parents have unique life experiences. Most parents aren't involved in the court system, or they're not participating in team meetings about how to get their child what they need. And so to have people that are also walking through some of those same unique experiences is important. Perhaps even more important, the thing that we do as far as connection is we make sure all of our families have what we call family partners. So every foster family has 3 family partners, and those are the folks that when DCFS brings a child to their home, let's say at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday night, and this family has said yes to taking the placement of a 5-year-old when they were only prepared for babies and toddlers, that they have someone they can call to go get toothbrush, pajamas, a Snuggie, whatever it is that kiddo needs to settle in for the night or for the next couple of days. And the way that we think about our family partners is that you can, in caring for a kid in foster care, you can either be that safe, loving connection, that safe, loving relationship, or you can be the person that creates capacity for that. Because the last thing that a child entering a home for the first time needs is for the parents to be scurrying around frantic trying to find the right supplies. We want them to be able to shoot a text message to a family partner that says, can you go grab da-da-da-da, and within an hour those items show up, and that foster family can focus on making that child feel safe and loved and connected as they transition into that home. So that connection piece is really important to the work that we do. So we make sure all of our foster families that we work with have that in place. So as you're thinking about recruiting foster families, it's also important to let people know that serving foster families is an important need. These folks also are going to be the ones, family partners are going to be the ones that maybe provide babysitting so the couple can go on a date night, or they're going to be the ones that help run the errands, or whatever those needs arise. We know that schedules can get hectic really fast when we're talking about kids and all the appointments that they may have. And so family partners are really key to making life work for a lot of our family partners. It's also one of those things that when we have foster families who first engage with us, usually their initial response is, oh, we don't want to ask people to help us. Like, oh, that feels uncomfortable to us. And, we tell them, like, look, God has called you to be a foster family. We know he's calling other people to serve in other ways. This is a requirement one if you're going to work with us, and don't deny people that opportunity to serve This is not about you. This is about the children that you serve. So don't deny people an opportunity to serve in that way. And so usually about 6 months in, we start hearing, thank you so much for making us do the family partner thing. We don't know what we would do without them. So family partners are a key part of equipping foster parents to be successful in caring for the children and families that they serve. And then the third thing we do when we think about foster families in particular is we provide one-on-one support. So we know that that again, DCFS capacity is limited, and so we want to be have the ability to provide that one-on-one support. So what this looks like in our organization. So I'll say just recently, one of the things that has happened kind of during this COVID era is that we've done some one-on-one coaching on how do we do a successful FaceTime visit with a bio parent. So having trouble getting the kiddo to sit still, to do the FaceTime visit, so coaching people through that, right? That's something DCFS could totally do if they had the capacity, right? But we know that that capacity is limited. And so us taking the time to have those conversations, whether it's coaching through a visit via FaceTime, or whether it's, hey, I have a kid who's hoarding food. How do I handle this? That's a big part of what we do with that one-on-one support. We provide ongoing training to our foster families. We know that it's one thing to get a lot of information before you actually have those experiences and before you have kids in your home. And then once you have kids in your home, you all of a sudden realize like, oh, I think I missed some stuff. I need some refreshers. I need that information again. And so we provide ongoing training to foster families. And again, connection. Which is so important. And so part of our support is making sure our families have ongoing connection. So our families have access to a private Facebook group where they can reach out to say, you know, hey, I'm in this area and I'm having trouble finding a daycare that'll take the state rate. Anybody have one that you really enjoyed or thought was a good fit for your family? Or hey, we're struggling with this issue. Anybody have tips on that? Or, hey, we just had a baby transition out of our home. Does anybody need this baby carrier? And so that connection again is critical to foster families being able to successfully do their job. And when we say successfully do their job, what we mean by that is the children and families that they're connected with and working with are thriving. So the kids are having their needs met. The birth family hopefully is getting what they need from DCFS and any support that foster family can give them as well. But it also means that the foster family itself is thriving. So they're able to navigate challenges. They're in a healthy space. They have the support that they need. They're engaged and healthy emotionally and spiritually, and they have the capacity to physically take care of themselves. All of this really goes into making sure kiddos get what they need. And so support is a key part of what we do as an organization. And then lastly, we engage in statewide and system-wide partnerships. So I mentioned earlier that we do some training on a trauma-informed model called trust-based relational intervention, or TBRI. And one of the things that's so great about TBRI is that it gives us a common language for those of us who work in that space, whether we're parents or professionals or somewhere in between. It gives us an understanding of how trauma has affected children and what we as the grown folks should be doing in response to that. So one of the questions we get oftentimes is like, why are you doing this systems work? Shouldn't you just be making sure families are okay? And so this is a model, and this is the why behind what we do. So this is a model of systems thinking, and you see in the middle of these concentric circles are the child and the bio family and the foster family. So that's the microsystem. So these people are all interacting with, and their lives are intertwined with one another in the home. But then you have all these other systems that are interacting with and influencing what's happening in relationship to the child and family. So you've got church, you've got school, you've got DCFS, the caseworkers, attorneys, you've got state office. So you've got these folks where decisions are being made that affect the child and family. We've got therapists and clinicians that are involved in this. And so all of these things, this world that we live in, we're not in silos. It's just like Secretary Walters says, and I won't be able to re-quote that exactly, but our children are not just an elbow of education or a knee of healthcare, or, you know, our children are heart and soul, all one being, and they live and their lives are affected by all of these systems. And so that means all of our systems have to be communicating, and we all have to be on the same page. Because if we're making decisions or if we're not on the same page, then we can have, you know, some really negative outcomes for children and families, which is what we want to avoid. And so the why of TBRI for us, and as we partnered, we were very intentional about connecting with DCFS in particular. Oh, I don't know why that did that. About connecting with DCFS in particular as kind of a leader as we began to train people in TBRI to say, hey, is this a model that you guys, you know, can get behind or will be behind? Does this resonate with you guys as what our community needs? And the answer to that was yes. And so we've partnered with them for 3 years now to bring this model to caregivers, to caseworkers, to decision makers within the system. And the why behind that is because I love this illustration of an iceberg. A lot of focused interventions that are out there are focused on the tip of the iceberg, which is what we can see. And when we talk about children and families, what we often see are behaviors. And what we don't see is that trauma, we know this, there's a ton of research on it, that trauma has affected a child's brain, biology, body, their beliefs, and therefore their behavior. So if all we focus on is the behavior, we can chip away at that behavior all we want, but a new behavior will emerge if we don't address how trauma has affected these other parts of the whole child or the whole family. And TBRI gives us some very concrete, tangible ways that we can do that. So that's kind of the why of TBRI as a model. And when we think about our state, we are currently bracing for, and you guys pray for Secretary Walters because emergency management falls under her department as well. We're currently bracing for a hurricane sandwich. I don't know if you've seen the news, but it looks like that's what's headed our way. And I don't think anything could be more 2020 at this point than a hurricane sandwich. But we are a state that is just prone to natural disasters. And that's hard. That upends people's lives. We also are a state, and I would argue that every state in America has historic and structural racism as part of the fabric of their communities. We can't pretend like that these things don't exist and that they don't affect children's lives. We have systems that are supposed to help folks that don't, and that sometimes hurt folks. And so we need to understand how our criminal justice system and other systems actually cause harm to our citizens. And hey, we're all in the middle of COVID-19, a worldwide pandemic, and that has upended our lives. So my point here is that if you are a pastor or a church leader or serve in some other capacity, we can't pretend like that trauma doesn't affect really each and every one of us, but it also affects those of us who are more vulnerable even more significantly. So we can keep our head in the sand and go about business as usual, or we can face this head on and say, what can we do as a community, as collaborative partners, to think about all of those systems and where I am, where my organization is in those systems, and what am I doing to address trauma, and how we help people heal their brain, their body, their biology, and their beliefs, and therefore get behavioral change, so that children and families can thrive. And so if you want to think about how you can get involved, these are kind of the things we think that folks can do. So you can care for foster families well. Find out if you have foster families in your church, in your community, and how can you serve them well. You can participate in that TBRI training. So we do online training on a regular basis. You can find that on our website. And even if you think, well, hey, I'm a pastor of a church, somewhere, small town Louisiana, this trauma stuff doesn't apply to me because I'm not in the city of New Orleans. It's just not true. You may think that, hey, I don't have foster families in my church right now, so I don't need the trauma training. Also not true. Trauma is really part of the human experience, and this training gives folks a framework for how we can help folks heal. And so for those of you who are interested in that, I would encourage you to do that. It's evidence-based, it's research-based, but it also, for those of us who, and this is a faith-based conference, for those of us who are Christ followers and who are Jesus people, this particular model really lines up with the way that we see that Jesus taught us how to treat people. And so it's really valuable, in my opinion, because it's got that both and. And then I would say you can encourage people in your congregation to volunteer. So if you have a local nonprofit or organization, CASA is a statewide organization that serves children in foster care. We encourage them to get involved in whatever way that they can. One of the things we say at Crossroads NOLA is, everyone can get involved. We echo what Louisiana Foster says there. And also when we recruit, we don't just recruit families to engage in our work, but we recruit for other organizations that are serving children and families. Because we think that when Jesus people are involved, that hopefully if they're doing the right thing and following what Jesus teaches us, that things will only get better. And so even if it's just having folks that are not only doing the advocacy work for a child in the courtroom as a CASA advocate, but they're also praying for that child and praying for that family. For those of us who that's part of our faith, we believe that that's really important. So that's kind of the high level overview of the ways that you can get involved. If you're interested in more information, you can certainly reach out to us. We're willing to share anything and everything that we've learned over the last 6 or 7 years as we've really kind of jumped into the deep end with this work. So thanks so much for having me today, and look forward to seeing how God uses folks across the state to meet these needs.
Thank you so much. I think that was such good information, especially for those of the churches that are joining us that may not know what they can do. I think you gave plenty of examples, and there's more to come in that area. So thank you for being willing to be on here. Anna talked about TBRI, trust-based relational intervention. We have several practitioners on as panelists today. But I am missing, oh, there she is. We have Cassie Guillaume. Cassie is she's a panelist. She'll be speaking in just a few minutes, but she's going to give us a break because I know everybody's probably a little bit drained from staring at a screen. So she's got about 5 minutes. We're going to come back and start at 10:20, restart 10:20. So if you don't want to stay for the TBRI break, that's great. Go do what you got to do. But if not, listen to her. She's going to lead us through a refreshing break.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well today. Hi, Anna. Thank you for talking about TBRI. You know I'm super excited about it. when I first got into TBRI, it just changed everything for me. It changed my mindset and the way that we go about this work. So, with that being said, in reference to TBRI break, we have all been on Zoom for about an hour and 15 minutes, everyone. It's time to get up. If you can, even if you're at home, just take a second, stand up, and I need you to start stretching. I need you to start feeling your limbs. Typically, when I do a TBRI break, we're gonna electric slide. But being that this is the video, we're not gonna electric slide today, right? So I just want everybody to start stretching. Reach your hands up to the sky. Get that blood flowing and exhale. Everybody take one more big deep breath in. And exhale. Don't forget to shake out those legs. We need to get our blood circulating, right? Okay, everybody, okay, now I need everybody to just do a regular shakeout. I know it's gonna look a little crazy, but that's okay. If you need to spin around, that's okay. If you need to do the hokey pokey to get your blood circulation going, that's okay too. Okay, so now that we've gotten our blood going a little bit, we need to do something to bring that energy back down, right? One of our calming techniques that we teach, wall pushes. Why do we teach wall pushes? Because deep pressure is calming, right? So, move this chair. I happen to have a wall behind me, right? So I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna push against this wall as if I am trying to push it down, correct? So we're gonna push that for 10 seconds. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, push, 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 3, 2, and 1, release. So think about doing things like that throughout the day, making sure that we're getting up and we're using movement, because movement is so important. Okay, well, that is it for our minor TBRI break today. I want everybody to remember we are sticking together. No hurts. Have fun. All right.
Cassie, that was fantastic. Thank you. And while we're still on break, we have a couple more minutes. I just want to reiterate how important it is, if you're working in this sector, to be trauma informed. What we know about trauma is that it rewires our kiddos' brains, and our brains for that matter, if you've been through some sort of trauma. And so with the help of TBRI, we can reestablish trusting relationships. And what I always tell people, especially from the faith-based community, is that we were made for restoration. Our bodies were made for restoration. Our minds were made for restoration. Our souls were made for restoration. That's why Jesus came. And so all of TBRI speaks to being restored. Those neuro pathways restore in helping relationships, and those relationships where we're trained to do the work and to do the hard things and to address behaviors appropriately. We can offer restoration to these kids from hard places. And that's the beautiful part of TBRI. If you're in this sector, you know about it. If you're not, this is the first time you're hearing about TBRI. I encourage you to look it up. There's some great information out there. Crossroads NOLA is where a lot of us got trained. I'm a practitioner. I know Cassie's a practitioner. Miss Beth Green is a practitioner. If I'm missing anybody else, I'm sorry. But just know that if you're working in this sector, having information and being trained in this is very important for your basic benefit of your family, no matter, and the relationships all the way around. So with that being said, I think we're about 1 minute away, so we can, I think, move to the next section. Just as a reminder, if you've not done it already, we've seen some people already post their churches in the chat. So just make sure that you're doing that if you can. If you, any type of church you attend, please put that in the chat box so we can just know where we're at and kind of the audience that we're looking at. Even if you're here under DCFS or the CAS or CASA, even if you're under there, please put that in the chat box. We have plenty of responses, but we'd love for everybody to respond. So our next speaker, let me get in my, one second, is Brianna McGee. Brianna is a peer support admin review specialist for Empower 225, which is one of our partners with Louisiana Fosters. And that's with their independent living program. She serves on the youth advisory board with Empower 225. She was the first ever elected peer mentor on the Louisiana Elite Advocacy Force, LEAF board. She is active on several subcommittees, one including the Placement and Stability Subcommittee, and she is a former foster youth. Brianna, you here? There she is.
Yes. So good morning, everyone. I'm going to be speaking today about my experience in foster care. So I'm gonna get to it. So my experience was very different than most cases you may hear. I like to say foster care saved me. And I say that because prior to entering the foster care system, I didn't have stable living conditions. My past trauma caused me to behave in dangerous ways, such as like running away. And I was always from relative to relative, state to state. I can remember attending 5 different elementary schools, 4 middle schools, and that was all before the age of 14. This caused me to be an introvert socially because I knew that my friendships wouldn't be long-lasting due to my continuous uprooting. So I entered the foster care system February of 2011. I was 14 years old. My caregiver was a woman and she had 4 other youth in her home. I wasn't familiar with the system. In fact, I knew nothing about it. I didn't know what to expect from my new caretaker and really had a hard time coming to terms with no one in my family stepping up to get me. So my first year in care, it was really hard. I was really rebellious. I showed no emotion because I felt that I had been rejected by my bio family and nothing could be worse than that. I ran away, I stole things, and I even got pregnant. Once I told my foster mom that I was pregnant, I fully expected her to get me removed from her home, but she didn't. She decided to keep me and my child. For the first time in life, I felt accepted. My behavior started to get better, and we started to bond more. I remember having one hiccup and asking to be removed from her home. And let me tell you, I know we all heard this saying before, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, okay? So I was moved into a different city, and my new caretaker did not accept both my child and I, so I was placed there alone. She was a lot stricter than my former parent, and she didn't give me as much freedom. Things were very different, and I quickly realized that I had made a huge mistake. I was there for about 3 weeks, and I begged and begged to not only be placed back with my daughter, but to be moved back to my previous home. And guess who was right there fighting with me and ready to welcome me back with open arms? My foster mom. Despite the opinions of others, she had faith in me and only wanted to see me become the woman I am today. Proving to me once again that in her care is where I wanted and needed to be. It was by God's grace and one misfiled document that I was able to go back. That was the first and last time I left her home throughout my journey in care. Not only were my daughter and I welcomed into a God-fearing family that took us in as their own, but I was able to build lasting relationships and friendships, attend a middle school, transition into high school, and eventually graduate with those same classmates. I was in her home when I aged out at 18, and she let me stay until I was ready to move out. My foster mom made sure that she taught me all the necessary life skills I needed to raise my daughter and all the essentials I would need to survive the real world. I was confident about raising my child as a single mom when I got ready to move out because she had been a great example of just that. She even instilled in me the importance of having a relationship with God. Can you imagine being loved so much by someone that they care to strengthen your relationship with God? Like I was blessed to have that from her. So by teaching me the life skills I needed, it prompted me to work in the field I work in today and to do so through a faith-based organization. She also inspired me to start my own nonprofit that will equip young women in our up-and-coming generation with the life skills they need. I also promote self-worth and self-care, a quality that most young women, from my experience, seem to lack due to the rejection they have encountered. In addition to that, I am a part of subcommittees that focus on placement stability, which I'm very passionate about because I've seen the impact it can have on one's life. Because of being placed in a stable home, my daughter was able to experience being raised with someone to call grandmother, aunt, uncle, pawpaw, and she even gained a godmother, all of them who watched and is still watching her grow to this very day. I also got to transition to different grade levels with my same friends. This played a crucial part in my development, I think, because I had never had this before. I was always used to moving schools throughout the school year. As I mentioned, like I was in 5 different elementary schools. We all know there's only 5 grades in elementary school. My same friends, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. We now have a forever home and a forever family, and I've made forever friends. My family still includes us in all functions and support us on all endeavors as families should. I say all that to say, although you may face challenges when accepting a youth into your home, please try your best to stick by them. Majority of the youth you may encounter have already experienced rejection from not only their bio family, but many other placements as well. This will naturally cause them to shut down and act out as they feel that their bio family don't care about them, so how can a stranger? All they need for a behavior change is for somebody to show them that they will stick by them and that they're worthy of their love. They need to know that it is human to make mistakes and you will not stop caring for them because of a mishap. So that's all I have today. And I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Ms. Secretary Walters and everybody for inviting me to have this opportunity.
Brianna, I just want to thank you for just coming on and sharing your story. I think it's really important for people to hear your story and to see you, because it not only are you doing amazing things in your for other people, but it just proves, and the point that we're trying to make is foster families who truly love and accept their kids make the difference. And that's what we believe the churches can do. They can rise up and make the difference within that area. So thank you so much for sharing your story. We're so grateful for you. Our next guest speaker is Cassie Guillaume. We got a little bit of Cassie energy a while ago. I met Cassie a few weeks ago, and I am just so thrilled that she's able to be here today and share with you guys. She is the foster care ambassador for the whole Southeast region of Louisiana, including New Orleans, Covington, and the Baton Rouge regions. She joined the Louisiana United Methodist Children and Family Services in May of 2016. And during her time there, she served in roles such as a therapist, lead foster family recruiter, and she's a trust-based relational interventionist practitioner. So take it away, my friend.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to see if I'm able to work this correctly with the screen share. Give me 1 second. Okay. Bear with me 1 second. Well,
Cassie, when you just shared it and then you play from the beginning, we were able to see it pretty
okay,
well.
I'll try that one more time. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, you're fine.
I was going to say that too. You could just leave it instead of putting it on the slideshow. If you just pull up the PowerPoints, you can still be able to see it that way too. And you
Okay.
can click on the slides on the side. Like we can still be able to see it.
Yeah, and just make it full screen. You should be fine.
You got it. Hold on, I gotta move the computer now. There's multiple screens. Oh, God. Okay, so can you see full screen?
We can see you. You got to screen share again.
You got it. Bear with me. I'm not the most technologically advanced person.
Hey, this is the first time I think all of us are doing this webinar. Maybe not all of us, but in our office for sure.
This is First Lady, and while Cassie's finding all that out, I just want to tell everybody thank you so much for joining us and bearing with us. This is such important information, and we're just so grateful for you all to listen in and to learn and to reach back out to us. So thank you, Cassie, and for everybody that's on the call, the panelists and the attendees. So thank you, and continue to be engaged because we got a lot more information to come. And we practiced this already, so you know how it is. As a former teacher, we always have technology issues. So
yeah,
thank you. That's okay. We're going to get through it. You did it the first time. We can do it again. So thank you.
I think I'm almost there. Or not. Wait a second. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Fantastic. Sorry about that. And now I'm sweating as a result. Okay. So, as I've been introduced, my name is Cassie. Cassandra Guillaume, everyone calls me Cassie for short. I am a trust-based relational intervention practitioner, as well as the foster care ambassador for Southeast Louisiana. So I'm working under the program called Louisiana Foster Care Support Services. And our slogan is, you care for kids, we care for you. One of the things that DCFS realized is that our foster parents do better when they are connected with each other. So what can we do to enhance that connection? One of the things that we're doing is making sure that we're supporting the organizations and the services that support all foster families. Because supporting a foster family is almost like a marriage. We marry the whole family. We have to be there for the entire family. We have to be able to turn on the act of listening for comprehension, not just to respond. And when I say that, I mean that this was our first year, so this was our pilot program, and making sure that with support organizations, we know what your needs are. I want to know, we didn't want to come in and change everything. We want to find out what's working for you and what are your needs. No one knows or understands a foster parent's needs the same way as another foster parent. Because we know that fostering children is not the same thing as raising your own biological children. A lot of displacements or disruptions can occur, right? Their whole world has changed. Our children enter in a stage of grief because maybe not only have we lost some connection to our bio family, but what about our extended family? What about our school family? What about our geographical location? Being able to be that blank slate and to help our parents begin to see that child as a child and not as their behavior. Okay. Oh, look at that. That's lovely. Okay, so one of the things that we want to do is to provide relationship-based services that are family-focused and centered on our children. So what does that mean? That means that the relationship comes first. What relationship am I talking about? The relationship with that child, the relationship with that family. In order for our children to succeed, they need a model of what it looks like to succeed. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We're going to increase awareness about foster care. In the state of Louisiana, we have 3 foster care ambassadors. We have Miss Margie Nielsen, who is in charge of Northern Louisiana. Her contact information is found below. Miss Shalonda Tebow, who is the Southwest Louisiana Foster Care Ambassador, and myself, Cassandra Guillaume. But again, everyone calls me Cassie, so please feel free to do so. All of our emails are listed below, and all of this contact information are our cell phone numbers. We are always available to you. Okay, one of our goals is to ensure that we link our foster parents with resources and support groups in their area. So one of the first things that we did is realize there's a difference between resource organizations and support organizations. A resource organization may be a physical building or a group that literally provides support to foster families that can be in the form of, for instance, North Shore Enduring Hope in Abita Springs. They may provide school supplies, bedding, things of that nature. In New Orleans, we have One Heart NOLA that just recently opened their resource center that also provides those intricate resources for our children, not to mention the foster village, both the foster village in Baton Rouge and foster village in Walker. They all make sure that our families have what they need for those placements. And like Anna was saying, having a resource family that's able to support you is vital so that we can focus our energy on engaging and connecting with that child. So how do we ensure that we're linking our foster parents with support groups? Well, one of the ways that we did that is to make sure there is a support group in every region. We did not want our foster parents to have to drive 50 miles to get support from other foster parents. We don't want to make your life harder. We want to make it easier. Any support that helps you succeed in a successful, smooth transition, that is our goal. We want you to feel heard. We want you to feel appreciated. We want you to know that just as we want you to TBRI our children and increase our quality parenting initiative that Louisiana has adopted, we also know that we must TBRI our foster families as well. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit, establishing the difference between a resource organization and a support organization. One thing that I did not mention is that a lot of our resource organizations also double as support organizations. Okay, so linking resource and support organizations with each other is vital. Imagine having numerous supports in your area and not knowing about the other supports that are available. Support organizations need to be aware of each other, because what if we're able to collaborate and reach more people, provide additional resources? It is so important to share resources. This is not a competition. It's about our children. It's about our families, the families of Louisiana. When our children do better, we do better. Okay. So, how do we make sure that we're getting the word out? Well, one of the ways that we're doing that is through establishing our Facebook page. If you are not already connected, go on to Facebook and look up Louisiana Foster Care Support Organization. Okay. In addition to that, we'll send out email blasts. There are also quarterly newsletters that we have developed to ensure that they update you on what's going on in the foster community, what your ambassadors are able to do for you. It also it'll highlight all of the support groups that are in your area. There are several support groups, and I can't tell you how many support groups are actually starting to utilize Zoom and closed Facebook groups so that parents can still have that connection with each other. As human beings, we are social beings. We need that connection. We do not thrive without that connection. Because as we know, foster parents and birth parents, no birth parent ever comes out and says, I want to be a not so great parent. No birth parent says that. Everyone is doing the best that they can with what they have. So when we join with our support organizations in order to support our foster families, we're modeling for them what quality parenting can look like. We're modeling for them how to interact with each other, because that same grace that we allow our children, we kind of also have to have that same grace towards our birth parents, because this is the result of trauma. What happens when trauma is unresolved? Okay. So one of the things that we're also doing in collaboration with DCFS, we have chosen and started to develop a mentor program. What does that mean? That means that we're going to be able to have experienced foster families help bring newly certified foster families through the process so that we can be there for you every step of the way. We want to decrease the loss of foster homes from lack of support. Our foster families need support. We can't do this on our own, but one person can make a difference. One person, one relationship can make a lasting difference. It can have a ripple effect throughout Louisiana. Okay, and we also, one of the things DCFS really wanted to focus on is increasing the self-reported satisfaction of Louisiana's foster caregivers. We want our foster families to be happy. We want them to be happy with the services that they're receiving. That's part of why this program, this pilot program was developed. DCFS has heard you, and they want you to be heard. They want you to feel appreciated. They want you to know that we will support you in any way possible. So how do we increase this number of caregivers that are providing this quality parenting initiative? Well, guess what? TBRI falls right in line with our quality parenting initiative. And for me, I look at it as TBRI for the world. As far as I'm concerned, everybody could use TBRI. It's a respectful way of communicating with our peers, with our foster children. So please be aware of and check out that Crossroads NOLA information in the classes that they're offering, because guess what? It's not just on Fridays anymore. We also want to increase the number of children placed with kinship caregivers. Recently, the foster care ambassadors ensured that a hub station, which is actually just a station that's going to contain our newsletters and information on relative foster care, kinship caregiving, Louisiana fosters, as well as fostering a teenager. All of that information can be found in your regional DCFS office. And we're going to be looking to continue to establish hubs all throughout these regions as well. We want to improve placement stability in foster care. So we're going to do that by loving our foster families, by coming alongside them and supporting these support and resource organizations that do the hard work of caring for our families. And lastly, we want to provide support to all of our Louisiana foster caregivers. We want to promote these efforts of DCFS to improve timely permanency for children that are in their custody. Trying to think, is there anything else I missed? So as child welfare stakeholders and as support organizations and foster parents, we need to model this quality parenting initiative, because when we are aware of what is better, we will do better. It will allow us to start looking through that trauma lens as opposed to other lenses which may allow us to look at our children as anything other than precious. So in closing, one of the things that I would love to see in the future is to see complete transparency with parents, to be able to put QPI fully into practice. I would also like to see support service programs enlarged. Imagine what we could do with an ambassador in every region. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and add those into our chat. I appreciate being able to speak today. It is truly an honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Cassie. I was able to take care of that screen share for you. The support organization, this is I believe their first year. They're doing a lot of great things to help connect the foster care community together. So after this, we'll have, if you want to reach out, we'll have a lot of information that you can have. Outside of this, we're going to be releasing some videos with our panelists. So stay tuned for that. And any information or questions you have, add to the chat box. So again, I want to remind you, if you haven't already, please add the church that you attend in the chat box so we can have that. And our next speaker is Miss Kim Bigler. Miss Kim is, she started what would eventually become James Samaritan out of the back of her car in California. Over the last 5 years, she moved back to Louisiana, and she has built an organization which has an incredible impact on the Louisiana foster care community. We are so glad to have you and can't wait to hear from you.
Whoop. Still getting used to this. So I'm a tech dummy. So I do have pictures at the end that somebody's going to help me try to screen save on that. But I'm also a storyteller communicator. So talking to a computer is completely out of my comfort zone. So bear with me and give me a lot of grace today. My name is Kim Bigler. I am the founder of James Samaritan, which is formerly James Storehouse. Talk about that in a minute. And we provide, basically what we do is we provide physical and relational resources to the foster care community. We specifically do this through strategic partnerships and innovation, and also just mobilizing local communities to do their part, including the faith community, which is one of our biggest folks that we try to inspire to get on the field of foster care. Today I'm talking specifically to the faith community, the capital C Church, the body of believers today, as well as nonprofits and frontliners who work in that space in the nonprofit field. I'm going to kind of tackle a little bit what I felt led to share with you today was a little bit of our story, again, that storyteller communication part, because it's truly a story of how God moved me on the field, which moved others on the field, because he is the ultimate mobilizer onto the field of foster care. So I just wanted to share our story, how to do that. And my intent is to give you ideas of how to do that, practical and visionary ideas how to do that, as well as encourage those who already do that, maybe to innovate further, and really to encourage and exhort everybody on the call. So thank you for including me, First Lady. It's an honor to be a part of Louisiana Foster Summit. I do have to state in the beginning that God has not left any child without a family, or any family without a support system, whether you're a biological family or whether you're a foster family or a youth that's in transition. He has not left anybody alone. So what I say today and be able to help in responding to the call a little bit better than what we have as a faith community and as a whole, is there is a call that still goes unanswered, because until there is more waiting families than waiting children, we have not answered the call. So there is a call that still goes unanswered, and I am super hopeful that he will inspire us to all come together, because I know whether you're a DCFS worker on this call or webinar, or you're behind the scenes, or you're a nonprofit, we do have churches like Katie was talking about. We do have churches that we attend, and really we are to communicate to our church this call that still goes unanswered collectively in the state of Louisiana. We know the call has been met, and we know the call has been answered when, like the First Lady said, that one church, one family, one child got on the field, and there's no more children without families, whether, again, that's adoptive or foster. And there's no lack of support for our biological families, our kinship caregivers, as well as our transitioning youth. So I just wanted to state that up front. We started, James Samaritan, formerly James Storehouse, started when I was getting connected back to my faith. I'd gone to churches, and I see churches on every corner, and I heard a lot, I read a lot, I studied a lot, prayed a lot. I was even a missionary at one time, and I just got into a zone after I had my first son, my first child, that I just didn't see anything being too effective. I saw a lot of work and a lot of busyness, but I didn't see my community transforming. I didn't see, I'm like, if this is what I've studied about. This is what I've read about. This is who I know God to be. Why am I not seeing that truth manifest itself as transforming the community in which I live and communities around me? So I started just praying about purpose. Lord, what do you have me do? Show me. Well, don't ask that from God if you don't want the answer. So shortly after, I got a mass email from a well-to-do church that I didn't even go to. And it was a mass email that went out to thousands of people. It was a large church. And it was explaining the realities of this young lady who had just transitioned out of the foster care system. She somehow secured an apartment. It was December. It was Christmas time. She had no furniture and she didn't have any central air and heat. And apparently she reached out to this church and asked for a heater. Well, I just had bought a heater for my pet for the garage that day because it was cold and I did leave for work and we had a nice little space for him, but it was cold in there and I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that we treat our pets better than we were treating this young lady. I couldn't imagine why she still didn't have a family. I couldn't imagine why she didn't have a support system. I couldn't imagine why she had to reach out to a church that then exposed her story in order to receive a $30 heater that I had just bought from Walmart for my dog. So that kind of lit a fire in me. It shifted something inside of me. And not only did I get that heater, I have been getting resources for the foster care community ever since, with the help with the Department of Child and Family Services partnership, first in Los Angeles, now here. And that's how we make that bridge happen. Going forward, in order to help, I didn't know, I was like Anna, she said earlier that she had no clue about the needs in the community, especially ones such as this young lady I just got the email of. It literally shocked me. I didn't, and come to find out, I learned more about her story. She was a lifer, had been in the foster care system since she was 3 years old. She had been in 22 plus different placements, and she, talk to me about the realities of kids transitioning out, the realities of when, what she experienced entering in the system back and forth, and also talked about not only just, the sorrow of being in homes that were not great to her, but also, and not have ever found a forever home, but also such lack of resources that she was given, so much so that when she's at school, she was given this black trash bag to get her belongings in. So I said, if I could go to the Department of Child and Family Services, what can I do for you? Their answer to me, as well as what this young lady said, more resources, more support system, at least that. So James Samaritan was born, and we got people to surround it. I started a Facebook page, started posting very generalized as to keep the confidentiality of children with these needs, and started posting stories on Facebook. Sharing stories is powerful. What Bree just said got me all over again. And so it makes me want to go out and do even more and even think that I'm not doing enough. So stories are powerful. And so what we were able to do on the Facebook page is when the Department of Child and Family Services would email us their needs, they would just give us a general description, because I said, give me something a little bit general so I can get the communities to understand why they need a bed, why they need bunk beds to keep brothers together, why they need school uniforms to help that grandmother single-handedly now becoming the parent of her grandchildren who have been found in the system, why we need to help the biological single mother get her kids back by giving her a stove so she can be able to cook or heat, so she can be able to keep her kids warm during winter. I had to explain the why to everything that came in, all these requests. that started building a ferocious community of people that were not only willing to give resources, but they also started understanding the realities of kids in foster care, the realities of families in foster care, the realities of biological parents fighting to get their kids back, and everybody involved. They started understanding that. And the more they understood that, I'm so going off topic right now, but the more, Jesus, but the more that they understood the realities, this is what started happening. Then they started calling me and say, hey, I've got a business. I can train a foster youth to be a mechanic because I've got car and I can train him if they need a skill. Or I've got, I'm a realtor, and these really nice homes that, we help to the family move, they've got all these beds, they've got all this kitchen stuff. And so how about we create a system where we're getting those needs to the kids and the families and the grandparents and the caregivers and the youth that need them. And so that just kind of started then really organically creating an ecosystem of supports that was not there in the foster care system when we landed. And we had to figure a lot of things out. We made a lot of mistakes. I'm not, we always talk about our highlight role, but we've all made mistakes on this call, from caseworker to supervisor to nonprofit leader to teacher to mentor. So we've either put our foot in our mouth or we shared some we shouldn't, but we've all learned, we're all learning. And that's part of building an ecosystem that is actually very strong. That's a strong family, is when you communicate, make mistakes, get back to it, and work that stuff out so we don't make those anymore. So anyway, I totally digressed off of anything that I was ever gonna say. But when we received these requests, again, we knew it was gonna help recruit good foster families to be a foster family, good families to be a family, because a lot of, when we put these requests out there, those who were meeting requests were like, I wish I could do more. I wish I could be a family, but I can't even feed myself and my kids now. Or I got this job and I'm just paycheck to paycheck, but I'm willing and I have a room and I have a safe place and I have a big heart and I love children and I will do, the TBRIs and all the stuff that they asked for me. I will be that committed, but they just simply didn't have, the funds to ready their home for a home inspection, like getting the beds and getting that kind of stuff. Again, it's not that they didn't have the resources to ongoing care, but it was just, they didn't have enough, the overflow that you need to prepare your home. So what James Smeridin started doing, help preparing homes where kids entering the system could actually be placed in a timely manner, because we were helping homes in their home development stage prepare for those arrival. And that helped parents know that they can do this, that they had a support system, that not everything was on them. So that, again, was the body of Christ in action there. But as we started responding to the kids' needs as far as resources were concerned, we, especially when we came to Louisiana, we had a lot of gaps of support at the time, like 5 years ago. And the Cassies of this world were not in the position that she's in, but I'm glad that she is now, because we had meeting of the minds with the DCFS. Like, how can we better bring a bridge support for foster families and biological families and everybody else? So those conversations were heard by the DCFS and were taken in consideration, and they saw the impact that it made when we did have that support or try to innovate ways to better support our families. And they listened to us, and that's why, a bunch of us got together and they asked our opinion. They asked if this is helpful. They asked foster families. And so now we're seeing that growth of support which is truly inspiring to me to see. But we as an organization, we were getting calls from everywhere. Not that I cared, but it was a little scary because of our budget didn't really match the requests that were coming in, right? So we had to think of a more innovative way of how do we best connect the needs that were coming to us from Shreveport or coming to us from, you know, these other directions. And since then, since this time, there's been nonprofits and clothing closets popped up everywhere. So we don't really get those calls that much, but at the time we were really struggling with it. And so we created an online resource platform called Community Connection. And Community Connection is where caseworkers can post a need and someone in that zip code is alerted to the need to meet the need. And so we offer this platform statewide. I know Glenn Roundtree, who's that coordinator, as well as our Open Table coordinator, is on this call, and his jaw is dropped because I said it was statewide. And that's okay, Glenn, I'll pray for you after this call. But we offer this platform statewide as we work to recruit. I did say that, Glenn. As we work to recruit faith communities. Did you hear me, faith? Faith communities. All those churches that were on the chat, we need you to get on and let us add you on to our Community Connection in your zip code. And we offer this statewide as we work to recruit faith sign up to receive these request alert. So say that a caseworker needed a bunk bed to keep, says that our internet connection is unstable. Can y'all hear me now? Okay, good. Say that a caseworker has a need to be met. Normally they call us or they email us, or I have them on little sticky tapes and pieces of paper and memo paper all over my car. Like to get, you know, remember to get, you know, a bunk bed so these siblings can stay together in the aunt's house or whatever. Well, now that those caseworkers are being entered in to be able to ask for that bunk bed on this online resource platform. And that caseworker in that area, it goes out to that zip code. And as we log in what we call volunteers to meet those needs, those volunteers, hopefully big bodies of churches will come to us and we go to them and that we log them in. But they see the need of bunk bed for sibling brothers. And they will either say, I can meet the need, or I decline the need at this time. And then there's a direct contact that is made, a safe and confidential direct contact that is made by that caseworker or nonprofit frontliner. I have to mention that, to connect with that person with the need without the middleman. And if you are, or your church or your business or your or a service organization group or women's Bible study are interested in getting on this platform for where you are and learning about the needs, then we can definitely talk about that. Katie can share my information with everybody that is on this call. But I also wanted to stress, whatever James Samaritan does, we feel the personal call of God to share whatever we have with all of you. So whatever we have going on, we want you to use it. So Community Connection is not for just needs that come in for James Samaritan. If Foster the Love or Fostering Community or whatever those, North Shore, if anybody has a need, we are open to getting those frontline leaders of those organizations to be kind of the caseworker to post a need that's come to your organization in order for that you use our online platform to put that need out there so peeps can come run into it. Like fireflies on, well, I don't know. I lost my train of thought on that. Okay, so that is a resource that all of you can use. Please use it, and we can definitely run through more of the specifics of how that is used. Also, we know that resources in just the years that we've been doing this, we know that resources are important, but relationships are critical. We realize we can give somebody a bed, but the bed ain't going to give a campus tour to somebody. You see what I'm saying? A bed isn't going to teach them skills to how to be a good mechanic of a car. A bed is not going to do that. It may give you a better night's rest. It may help you sleep, you know, a little bit better at night. But we realize in order to improve the lives and futures of the kids that we have in our homes and the youth that are transitioning out of foster care, we have got to ground them in a stable relationship with stable, healthy, wonderful, loving adults. We want to provide an opportunity for every youth who are 16 and up, 17 and up, whatever it is, to 23, 25 even. You know, it really is a case-by-case basis. We wanted to offer to them an opportunity for their own personal village, to walk with them 1 hour, once a week for 1 year. And this opportunity came to us during a Louisiana Foster Summit. See, this is how powerful connecting is. So I met this wild, crazy, wonderful, loving man at the last Louisiana Fosters. And so he was talking about Open Table. That was not a program, but it's actually a relationship building initiative. So what it does is it helps build an intentional relationship between that youth who's in transition to a village of support of 6 or 7 volunteers who will actually walk with them 1 hour once a week for 1 month and help them with their life goals and just to be cheerleaders or their persons to call when they're in a jam, when they're in a gap, when they're in forks of the road, right? So we have tables in every parish. Or no, I shouldn't say that. That was exaggerating. I have tables in different parishes, that's what I wanted to say, throughout the state, and we are always looking to add more. So again, if community connection isn't your thing, or it is, and your church is looking to walk with our youth in a very personal, one-on-one, awesome way, consistent way, we have Open Table that can help you do that. These tables have helped our young people from falling into pits like homelessness, and have even helped them not to fall into the pit of sex trafficking. Believe it or not, these tables work. They work. It's been a lot hard to get caring adults to give a year of their time, an hour a week. I get it, but it's saving lives and it's improving lives, and that's the whole point. Our tables have walked with our youth, our young folks, through death of family members. I mean, that's important. Who do they call when a family member they found out died? Who gives a rip? Well, one of our Open Tables did, and guess what? She transitioned, right, from that grief. They get stuck in the grief when they have nobody helping them process that, and it helped her do that. So our young folks, they've helped our young folks with death of family members, mental health crises. I mean, that's huge, to walk with a young person when they are having a mental crisis. And again, the forks in the road. So where they have been left to navigate these events on their own because of God's calling and people answering, they were not. They were not alone. And I hope to inspire that spirit here today. They are not alone. Nobody should be alone. Again, God has not left anybody alone. We just have to answer the call. So we want to see the church rise up, not just regarding resources in the area, but also in the area of resources, but also in critical relationships needed to surround each and every young person transitioning out. The more we find out, oh, I love this part, zoom in here. The more we find out about the pipeline, just nationally, the pipeline from foster care to sex trafficking, we realized we needed to make a very strategic partnership for that, because I didn't know anything about sex trafficking. out maybe some youth, you know, that come across our paths have been victims of trafficking. And so we now, we met a wonderful lady, Kathy, who is with the Louisiana Association of Children Advocacy Centers. I hope she's on this call. And she is the new sex trafficking coordinator for my region. And so I'm not a child wealth expert, so I like to partner with people who are. So she taught me all about sex trafficking, taught me all about the realities, and she is not only going to start a table that specializes in walking with the youth coming out of trafficking, but we're gonna start adding sex trafficking training to all open tables. Y'all, come on, somebody give it up for that, please. I can't hear y'all clapping, but I see y'all clapping. That deserves a clap. Okay, moving on. So mobilize your peeps, churches, organizations, whatnot. Mobilize your peeps to walk with a youth on open table. Get them connected to us with community connection. We will get them on the field of foster care. So I just want to leave you with two things. Many nonprofits are struggling with funding. Nobody ever talks about this, but this is huge. Someone needs to talk about it. It's an elephant in the room, okay? And the village now needs a village, okay, to sustain in this time of COVID when donations are down. So James Samaritan, I hope just to inspire some ideas and innovation with you nonprofit leaders, even churches at this time. But James Samaritan has had to get real innovative of how we generate funding, a funding stream to keep our work going in the momentum that we had started. And so in the middle of COVID, we launched a t-shirt screen printing business. Yes, businesses are closing, and we got the nerve to start one. What's up with that? But anyway, that's God's leading. It's called AIM Creative. And we realized that political campaigns that were going on in the area still needed t-shirts done, and they also wanted to contribute to supporting our youth. So we were there to pick up the orders for all the runoffs that we had going on in our area. And so that was a score on our part for this time of funding. We also helped a lot of students continue their learning online when COVID hit by providing devices that they needed to continue this to continue their education. So the school board, in response, put us on the vendor list, and now we're gonna vie for those accounts that will do all the schools' t-shirts once they're back in session. So that's how God works, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. Even Together We Can, we're doing the t-shirts this year for Together We Can. So buy your t-shirt for Together We Can. If you didn't buy one last year, buy one this year, because all profits go back to supporting the foster care community. So that's 4,500 people invited, folks. So please get your t-shirts. Make your money matter. Anyway, those are just some innovational things that we're doing. We're also going to launch a pillow line, James and Arrow, that support a home collection that supports kids who need one. That's coming up. So just social enterprise is becoming a new way of things to think about to help support your work, nonprofits, if you needed that seed to kind of be churning in your spirits. But all this to say is this, is that we must look for opportunities in crisis. I mean, I know a lot of people look at the crisis, but I am always seeing crisis as an opportunity to innovate to shift gears, innovate to forcing us to make stronger strategic partnerships in the area that we have, in the area that we're influencers of, the way to fund different, the way to gain motivation from faith communities differently. So I always see crisis as an opportunity, and I just inspire everyone to do so, that innovation is an overcomer's reaction to challenge. I'm going to say that again, and because it's true. Innovation is an overcomer's reaction to challenge. So all of us on this call, when you're working in child welfare, we all have challenges we need to overcome right now in several areas. And God has not left us without his support, those blueprints that light the path kind of moments to get through these challenges that we're in. He may even allow something to die so something can be resurrected in its place, even in systems, even in policy making, even in legislating, even in the way we run our nonprofits, even in the way. So don't stop resuscitating dead things. That's coming out of nowhere. But stop resuscitating dead things and then seek him, because he's promised to give us all the answers. He is the answer man. And so we realized we had a communications issue of not getting a lot of communication out there, funneled down, which is why I'm so glad Cassie again is on this call. And a lot of families were scrambling to get a game plan and resource for homeschooling and virtual learning. So we're going to start a podcast in a few weeks. And our first guest, I know she's on this call, first guest being Renda Hodnett, who many of you know from the DCFS, and she's going to be talking about the effects of COVID on the education of our youth and caregivers. Not only describing the challenges, but describing the ways that we are coming together and the DCFS's response on providing the best response to their educational needs at a challenging time. So she will also share a few ways that the community, again, the body of Christ or the faith community can get involved regarding that. I will make sure that Katie from Louisiana Fosters gets that link that she can share when the podcast is up. Last but not least, I am wrapping up, I promise you. But sometimes, and like I was saying, sometimes in order to make room for what God wants to do in our hearts, in our lives, in churches, in our families, and in our nonprofits, he calls us to let go of something. I mean, that was a word that I got for somebody this morning, so I've got to be obedient and say it. But let us let go of something like, Peter, when he was on the boat, he was asked to walk on water toward the Lord who was calling him out. It's kind of what we're being asked to do, is kind of getting out of our boats of comfort and going to where Jesus is calling us out to and to where he is. I'm looking over here because that's where the panelists are, and I like having faces to communicate with. And he is calling us all to make room. This is for the church. He is calling us to make room for his children. Again, he has not left one child without a family, without a support system, without resources. We have it all. We do. Collectively, we do. And he's calling us to make room for our children. He cares, whom he cares for with the deepest commitment. And for God to mobilize the state, to mobilize, he must mobilize his church here, to have a family available with a village in tow for every single child and youth who needs one, to have quality, caring, committed mentors for every young person who needs a light lit to see a pathway, and to meet every need that they have in our communities. We must make room. That's the problem. We say calling out, I'm not here. No, we must make room for it. And then I'm going to show you our visitation center. A few years ago, we were doing a clothing closet, and we were doing it successfully. And a lot of people were coming in, and a lot of people were confused about, the direction that we went, because God said, I want you to shut it down. Shutting down a clothing closet, like, who says that to somebody? And so maybe the police, or maybe somebody legally that maybe I didn't have a permit, but no, God said, shut this down. And the lease was coming up, and I just got into this beautiful place that was a boutique that I made look all nice, where support groups were happening, clothes were there, and whatever you needed was there. And I heard, shut it down. And I was disturbed. I'm like, surely that is not God, that's Satan. That's the enemy. Hey, you God. But I was so disturbed and wrestled so much. It's like I just knew. I didn't know if he was calling me on to something else, because I didn't see the step ahead, but I just knew, shut it down. So we did. And everyone's like, what happened to James Storehouse? What happened to James Storehouse? What happened to James Storehouse? And I said, I don't know. You need to, I knew somebody else was going to take over clothes and take over those felt needs. And let me tell you, 2 weeks after I did that, with a lot of people speculating and like, where are they and how dare they leave us? And, where's our support system? 2 weeks later, I go to this church to talk about the realities of kids in foster care. And guess what happened? The pastor and his leadership felt so convicted they weren't doing enough, or I should say inspired to do more, that this building that you see, this they donated and let us have free use of while paying our utilities. They gave us a 48 square foot space and I didn't even know what to do with space because I didn't have a vision for space. Like I always do, partner with the DCFS. They came through the space and they said, we need a visitation center that our kids don't have to go back to government offices to visit with their families so they can feel re-traumatized. We need a neutral, beautiful space for them to meet at where everybody's feeling like it's their space, not the caseworker space, not the government space, their space. And so these are the pictures, and I'm going to leave you with the pictures. These are the pictures of our visitation center. And again, I want to inspire all faith communities out there. If you've got space, I want you to start a visitation center where you live. Okay? Anybody hearing me? Please, there's so many leftover buildings. There's so many. Can you see that? Okay. So when I say let go of something to make room for something else, God knew I had other things to attend to. He raised up other people to do clothing closets. He's not going to leave anybody without support, but he wanted this to happen. And guess what? This beautiful church, Holy Trinity Lutheran on Highway 21 in Covington, Louisiana, please write them and say thank you, please. They even busted out that door. There was no door there, and they busted one out for us so our kids and families could have use of this huge facility. So that's the entrance. This is the waiting room. When they come in, they meet their caseworker. Again, we're not child welfare professionals. They meet their caseworker in here, and they meet the bio families, and they meet their foster families. And we even still have a resource closet to the side, so we do still provide resources. They come in here, and this is our community room where we also help recruit foster families. Crossroads NOLA's had meeting here. Parenting meetings have happened here. Teens, we've had special events here for teens and our kids, and all the love happens here. We even have a kitchen. I don't know if, we have a full service kitchen that's always stocked with snacks. And so everybody knows when they come in here, they can go to our kitchen and grab whatever they want out of the fridge and out of the pantry. And I'm telling you, that's world peace. When you see a caseworker, a bio parent, a foster parent, and the foster child all in the kitchen making some snacks. I love that. That's world peace right there. That's the teen room where it's equipped with computers and a restroom. Here's our art room. We have art therapy here. This is where some visits happen with the older kids. Our nursery is where the visitations happen with our 0 to 4, 0 to 3 age group. And you know what? And here's our library. So any kids can come in here and they can get whatever books they want to start their own library for free. So no checkout business over here. What you get is what you keep. And mentoring happens in this room as well. And so caseworkers, they schedule this room, but you know what? We also open it for nonprofits. So if you're a nonprofit on here, if you're a church on here, and you want to use our facility, again, we just created your nest, okay? We just create nests, we create models, we just inspire and we help innovate. But we just created your nest. So use our nest. And because it's having tremendous results on the way these families interact. So thank you so much again for listening to my blah, blah, blah. And if you want any information about us or for me, or if you want to go to lunch and you're like, hey, I want to pick your brain about this thing I was thinking that we would do. I'm a total visionary and I eat that stuff up and I love to solve problems. So if you just need a safe a safe spot to bounce stuff off of, and nobody's going to tell you that you're crazy or it's a dumb idea. Call me. And I just want to thank again for Katie with Louisiana Fosters and the First Lady for always including us and what God is doing in our organization and into the summit. So thank you so much.
That was so good. I think it just gave such a good if you didn't leave that with an idea, I don't know what can inspire you, because you just, I mean, hit the nail on the head in so many different directions. So we just are so thankful for your heart and what you're doing for children. So our next guest speaker, we have 2 more guest speakers with us today, is Dr. Mark Johnson. He is the senior pastor at Edgewater Baptist Church. Dr. Mark, are you available? You here? There he is.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're good. Thank you for being here.
Yes, ma'am. It's an honor to be here with you as well. We're excited about all that you all have done. Listen, Kim, I don't know about you guys, but Kim, you might as well just start preaching, because I don't need, what in the world was that? I'm gonna take a collection for Kim. Everybody just put it in whatever. So, so the First Lady, we're just really excited to be able to share just a few things for you all today. I'm excited to be here, not only to represent our church, but I also represent the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, where I am a professor here. A lot of great things are going on, but I'm just really excited about this moment. I know there's a lot you probably don't know about me, but I moved here from Cleveland, Ohio about 3 years ago. And I was pastoring there, a large church there, and I came here to New Orleans and just jumped right in and just really just made myself at home. And foster care has been a part of my journey. I'm a 3rd generation preacher's kid. My father's a pastor, grandfather's a pastor, which means I didn't want to be one, you know, that kind of thing. But through the journey, some of you, I know I can get a witness. Through the journey along the way, though, God has done some amazing things. So let me get to the foster care piece and how it has impacted our church specifically. Here's what people go thinking they're supposed to give something to foster care, but foster care has allowed them to receive so much. I mean, I think that's been the biggest thing that I've seen over my years. I watched the church literally grow because one person in the church decided that they want to engage in foster care. So watching that journey all play out was just amazing for me. Our church grew spiritually, it grew emotionally, all because there was this new something that was in our church that we were supposed to come and support. And that thing exposed us for the weaknesses that we had, the patience that we had to endure, and the growth that still needed to take place. So while Foster Care Agency, we're doing something to be a part of the solution, we're also saying that, man, it's a part of our solutions. We don't know what we're missing until we do it. And so being able to walk alongside some of our members as they go through that process has just been phenomenal as well. Now, let me just say this. I was a chaplain of a sports franchise, the Cleveland Indians, and then when I moved here with the Florida Marlins as well. So I get a chance to see foster care agencies in different locations and different settings. So while I was in the church setting, I was able to see foster care work. And then while I was in the sports arena, I watched that some of these athletes were participating in foster care as well. And one of the things that I noticed that is the rhythm through it all is how the community comes and support. It does not matter if you are a friend, a relative, a cousin. There's something that happens to an entire community when foster caring is involved. So whether it's church, the church grows. This is weird. Then the city grows. Sorry, the neighborhood grows first. So what happens in the church, and I've seen it, then the city grows, then the neighborhood grows. And we just believe that if the city grows, the neighborhood grows, and city grows, then something's going to happen to the state, something's going to happen to the region, something's going to happen to the country, and then something will eventually happen to the world. Because we just don't know what we have until you see the end result. And sometimes the end result is that person who showed love when I was 7 or 8. Now that person has the cure to AIDS at the age of 37, 38. We don't know the impact. And so for me, I don't want to see foster care as a Christmas, Thanksgiving, or Mother's Day event. I think the churches, in my opinion, we do it wrong. We do it wrong when we say, okay, today is Foster Care Sunday, right? And we do it wrong. I think it should be a part of the bloodline of the church, where it's not just something that's done once, twice, but I think it's something that should be a part, the same way you open the Bible, there should be something said about not just foster care, but just care. I mean, we drop the foster off. I mean, it will mess up Louisiana foster, so sorry about that. But if we just have care, then we change how it looks. And there's so many people that have the little orphan Annie complex when it comes to foster care agency. Come on now, it's not a movie, it's an actual opportunity to change a culture. And so we've seen that happen in our church. I've seen it in the sports arena, and now here's another layer for me. And this is an important layer that I think is important for us today. In the seminary community, there are leaders who are about to go off to pastor churches or to do ministries. And I had a conversation with some of our executive leaders here, and we need the information of all of you, if you don't mind, to give me your information so that we can start making it a part of our curriculum in some way, shape, or form. Again, it's not just an event. Man, we're talking about the lives of kids. So it can't be something that's a one-time thing and you go take care of that kid. No, it's not about that. It's about how can we make a dynamic change in the hearts and minds of people. And if we're having pastors already thinking about the foster care agencies before they get into their churches, then we already have advocates in churches when they first arrive, versus someone showing up from the outside telling a pastor or church that we'd like for you to participate. So how can we move the needle to the point where it's not just a special event that you do, but it's something that's a part of your everyday journey? We have three things, and I'll stop here. We have a biblical component, then we talked about the Bible in the seminary school, we shift to a theological component, which is like systematic theologies and all the philosophies, and then we have an applied component. And that component, so you start with the Bible, theology, and then you apply, and then you go out. Well, what if in this applied category, and this is really where I am with leadership, administration, interpersonal skills, in that applied category, where we have individuals hear about the needs, hear about foster care agency, hear about some of the things that's happening. Now they take that work with their biblical component, theological component, you add this applied component, and then you're ready to serve. And we are at fault as a seminary institution if we just keep talking about the Bible and just keep talking about systematic theology and never attach those things to help them actually go serve. And so it's a part of the process, and I believe that some great things can happen along the way. I am about as crazy as you're gonna get. I wore a suit and tie. I never wear a suit and tie. I just wore it because I knew you guys were gonna be on the call. I said, well, I gotta get myself together. But I want you to know, I'm a grassroots pastor. I'm the guy who wants to be on the ground, wiping the noses. I wanna help people get where they need to be, pull people together so that they can do some great things along the way. So what I've heard, I've been just floored by all the people that's out there doing some phenomenal work. I'm gonna try to wrap up Kim and just duplicate her about 8 times in our church, and I think we'll be good. But we just thank God for all of you and for the work that you're doing, and we're excited to be a part of it. It's been a long day for you all, and I thank you for the time that you've given me. Katie, appreciate you so much. And to our First Lady, thank you for all you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. I so appreciate you coming on and sharing. I've heard so many great things about you. Just want you to know, I did watch you on YouTube, and I'm inspired. I love to watch you preach. So God bless you, and thank you for your enthusiasm and sharing it with everybody about foster children.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so you know, after this, we have everybody's emails that have signed up for this. We will be sending out a contact information form for everybody as sort of a post summit wrap up. So with that being said, we have our final guest today. And our final guest is Antonica Frazier. She is part of the Louisiana Elite Advocacy Force. She's a board member. She's a senior attending Southeastern Louisiana University. She's a peer support worker for the Life Skills Program in the Covington region. She's the assistant secretary and the chairman of the policy subcommittee for the LEAF board. And she is a former foster youth advocating for change and speaking for what is right. Antonica, it's all you, my friend.
All righty, thank you. That is such an excellent bio about me. Let's just say that first and foremost. I would like to screen share. see if I can do that.
Oop, you're frozen.
Oh my good.
Okay,
Okay.
you're here. You're back.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, it says my internet connection is unstable. Okay, if you cannot hear me, if I may freeze a buffer, please let me know.
You're
Okay,
good.
thank you so much. Okay, so as my name is Antonica Frazier, as she was just introduced, I also go by Tawny, and to our youth, they call me Miss Coco. So I just want to thank the LA Foster Summit. Thank you to the First Lady. Thank you to Miss Katie for having me on the panel this morning. Thank you so much. So I first want to get started. I want to do a slideshow. Let me see if I can do this.
Yeah, from the beginning. Do the from the beginning.
All righty.
There you go.
Can you all see that? Excellent. All righty. So I wanted to first talk about my experience and my story of how I entered into foster care. I was 13 years old. I grew up with 2 older siblings. I am the youngest. I actually have 11 siblings. 9 of them are from my father, but I do not know them. I did not grow up with them. I only grew up with 2 sisters and my mother. And when I was 13, a lot of things were very toxic in my home, dealing with my father. He was a very abusive young man. And one day he was threatening to kill me, my 2 sisters, and my mother. And I knew that something needed to be done about that. I really didn't know who I was supposed to reach out to, who I needed to talk to. I just knew that an adult needed to hear my story, and they needed to know what was going on in our home. And so I had an essay that was due. I was in 7th grade. I had this memorable essay that I had to write about a significant moment in my life that impacted me, that made me happy, that made me sad. So I chose to write about the first time it snowed in Baton Rouge when I was younger. And I also wrote about a situation that occurred in my home dealing with my father. I wrote about the type of man that he was and the type of abuse that we suffered in the essay. And I wanted to write that someone help me. So I printed it out, I typed it up, I turned it into my teacher. And about a week later, I was the last student in class. And she just looked at me with my essay in her hands. And I knew, I had a feeling that she was going to ask me, was it okay for her to tell, to report what was happening. But even if she didn't ask me, I was going to tell her yes, because someone needed to help me. I couldn't think about the idea of watching my family die. I thought 13 was too young for myself to not have to live my life. And I thought 15 and 17 was too young for my sisters too. And so she just asked me, are you okay? And she just paused for a brief couple of seconds. And I was just like, if I think what you're going to ask me is the answer is yes. But she never asked me the question. She just said, never mind, because she's technically a mandated reporter. When you work for Child Services, you have to go through this program to become a mandated reporter. So I figured, okay, just go ahead and report that. So she actually did report. She actually did report what happened. And Child Services came to my school first. They talked to me, and I was very open and honest with them. And I told them, look, this is not my first time encountering CPS, actually. I encountered them in elementary school, and I lied. I was not truthful about the things that were actually going on in my home at the time. And so sometimes I kind of think about, if I maybe spoke up early when I was younger about the abuse that we was experiencing, would things have been different? Sometimes I lead myself to question that, but sometimes it's not very good, because I don't want to live with doubts and I don't want to live with any regrets. And so when CPS came to my school, I told them everything that happened in my home. I told them every experience that I had, everything with my father, what he has done to my sisters, my mother, to myself. I told them everything, and I made sure to tell her that my sisters were going to lie because they were afraid. We were all in some way still living in fear. I'm a big firm believer in God, and I believe fear comes from the devil. It is not of God. God gives us strength, and I feel like I did not want them to be afraid anymore. So I wanted CPS to be prepared when they went to go talk to them. And I made sure to just be, have patience with them and just listen to them. So long story short, they met with my sisters and they told them what happened and things, and CPS came to my home. And I was really excited that they came, because it showed that they cared. It showed that they understood part of my story. It was like they wanted to help me. They want to help save my family. It meant a lot to me. And so They came and spoke with my mother. My mother confessed so many things that I didn't even know that happened to her between him. I really didn't know what was going on behind closed doors. You know, I only saw what I saw, what they gave to me, what my understanding was at the age of 13. And so CPS came, my daddy showed up, they talked to him, they arrested him. They told me that, you know, we only had 7 minutes to pack up our belongings and that we were leaving. So we left, all three of my sisters, we were together. The first placement that I entered into was respite care. And so respite care is an emergency-based foster home. You know, sometimes the youth, when they first enter into DCFS custody, they will be going to one of these foster homes where they may stay for about a day, they may stay for nights, they may stay for a week, they may stay for like 3 months. So this respite care was quite interesting for me because this respite care later became my permanent home down the road. And so I thought it's a beautiful story of how I get there. I don't have that much time to share about it, but it is a beautiful story of how I got there. It's pretty cool. And so I actually been in 2 unstable placements and then my 1 stable placement, which was the respite care. And so today I wanted to share some of the qualities of why it's important to have stable homes, especially as you are interested in becoming a foster parent. But this is for every organization, period, nonprofit. This is for churches. This is for everyone as a whole, because you want to make sure that you yourself is stable enough to want to help another child, you know, especially one that is going through trauma. But I want to also highlight some of the qualities from being in an unstable placement. My story is very unique. When I first entered to care, I did not go straight to a stable placement. I entered respite care and my first placement was an unstable one. And the next one after that, and the next one after that. So, but I finally got the chance to have that peace that I needed for so long. So why is it important to have stable placements? It is important because it provides a safe, open environment. You want the youth, any child that you speak with, you want them to feel safe. You want them to feel like you care about their well-being. And you want to make sure when they are ready to open up to you, it is in an environment that is safe, free of judgment, free of prejudice, with eyes open to really see them for who they are. You want to make sure that you allow the youth to feel respected and loved. They are coming from backgrounds that are already toxic. They may have suffered from abuse. They may have suffered from neglect, and you do not want to bring them into another unstable environment. It will not do the youth any good. So you want to make sure that you are treating them with respect because they are a child of God and they need to be loved because they did not get that when they should have. You want to make sure that it provides the youth stability and it allows the youth to grow. Any placement that you put a child in, anybody, when you meet a child, you want to make sure that that environment is one that is capable for allowing the youth to grow and to become an adult and to find themselves. You do not want to put a youth into a place where they feel like they are being stagnated because then they won't grow. You want to make sure that that environment is positive for them and that it inspires them to want to do great. And you want to make sure that it shows the youth the true meaning of family. You know, every child, it doesn't matter. They want to know what a family is because they did not get it, or they weren't able to receive it. They need to know what it's like to be loved. They need to know what it's like to be supported, what it's like to be guided, what it's like to have someone to genuinely care about them. Because for a long time, all they're going to think about is how come I didn't get the parents that I deserved? And that is a hard pill for all of them to swallow. So the first quality is acceptance. In a stable placement, acceptance looks like accepting the youth for who they are and not what they are. There's so many, you know, negative connotations out there about a foster child. There are the stereotypes that people have created about them. I have been told that some people thought I was a juvenile delinquent. Every time I said the word foster, that I was in foster care, they always said, "Are you a juvenile delinquent? Did you get in trouble? Did you get arrested?" They always bring up these things that I'm like, no, did not happen. No, it did not apply to me. So I want people to understand that when you encounter a youth, What they may appear to be on the surface is how they may not be in their hearts. It's their hearts and it's their souls that matter. And sometimes people cannot see that because they're so focused on the youth and that the fact that they may have an attitude, the fact that they may be angry. They don't want to take the time to see how they are truly in their hearts. See, in my stable placement, my foster parents are actually white and they are elderly. And so these were the first white people I ever lived with, okay? I was nervous. You know, my daddy was a man who was just like, don't be friends with the white people. But I was like, I like them. So when I encountered them, they always referred to me as their daughter. Anytime they introduced me to anyone, they've never used the word foster. They never said, this is my Black child, you know. They always acknowledged that I was their daughter, and they held me to such a standard of pride. They were so proud to walk next to me by my side. They were so proud to defend me. And I feel like that was so important. And they accepted me for who I am. My mother was very curious about my hair. Why was it so curly? Why did it grow up? What kind of products do I use? She was so interested in learning about who I am. And I think that is so important for other people who are so interested in becoming foster parents to accept the child for who they are and not what they are. Do not use the word foster when speaking to other individuals that may not be familiar with the youth situation. This is so important because I have been in situations where the foster parent would introduce me as their foster daughter, their foster child, and these people looked at me with eyes of judgment, like, what is a foster child? Like, what's wrong with her? They made me feel like something was wrong with me every single time. And not only that, some people don't even know what foster care is. You will be surprised how many people do not know what that is, doesn't even know that it exists. And so I think that it is important when you are going to address your youth to someone, you ask them, how would you like me to, introduce you to people? Would you feel uncomfortable using the word foster? Because you don't know, it may trigger them. By every time you use the word foster, you may make them think again about why they're in foster care, what brought them there in the first place. And so I also put accepting a youth of a different ethnicity and nationality. I feel like you don't want to ever make the youth feel like they are no better than this child just because of the way that they look or the way that they are. And then you limit yourself. I'm honestly, and this is the truth, if my foster parents did not fight for me because they were only a respite care placement, they never took a child permanently. I was the first and only, okay? And they fought for me. But if they did not, I was going somewhere else, going to be adopted. I was going far off the angel flight. I mean, I don't know where I would have been going, okay? I don't know where I would have been going if it wasn't for them. But that proved to me that even people who are not the same ethnicity or nationality than me can still love me and accept me and raise me as their daughter. And I feel like that is important for every other youth as well, to be able to accept another child that may not even look like you, period, but to still love them the same way that you would love your own kids. In an unstable placement, the former foster parents constantly introduced me as their daughter. They made me feel like I was some type of trophy, made me feel like I was something to be pitied. They didn't make me feel like I was a child. I was a human being that deserved the love. I was just something that they wanted to highlight, which I think is not a good thing, because you don't ever want the youth to feel like they're just something to be passed around. The second quality I put is so important in a stable placement is communication. In a stable placement, this seems to be listening with opening ears to the youth, with a mind open and ready to understand. There have been plenty of times in these unstable placements I've been in, I've gotten accused of so many things, but every time I tried to speak up, it was like I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't make any sense. I am making this up. It was completely nobody listening to me. But in this stable placement, when I was upset, they would sit down and they would talk to me. They would hear me out and listen to why I am upset and trying to understand where I am coming from. Because I am a youth that has been affected by trauma. Understanding that a youth is affected by trauma is the biggest thing, because they will respond in situations maybe entirely different than you. They may get very defensive quickly than you. They may get very introverted. They may not want to talk for a few days. They may just want to be alone. And see, youth are affected by trauma. We respond differently. My brain has been wired fight or flight. It's the way it's always been since I entered into care, fight or flight. It is the survival mode that they are in because they are trying to survive. But then at the same time, they are trying to work on themselves. They're trying to understand what is going on while they are being affected by this trauma. So sometimes this may look like when you are trying to speak to a youth, they may be angry, but a lot of them are going to be angry because of what they are going through. And half of them just want to go back home. And some of them cannot, and they don't understand why. So they are angry. So I always say that patience is a virtue, and it is a key when dealing with youths who are like this. You want to have that as a quality, and you want to have that as a skill, and you want to be able to understand how to communicate with them without making them feel like you are attacking them, without you making them feel like you are pressuring them, to get them to open up and share what they are going through because they want to share it on their own time. And an unstable placement, treating the youth as if they do not understand real life. I am a peer support worker, so every time I talk to a youth, I'm always trying to understand them because they may have gone through something that I may not have experienced. There's plenty of things that these youth have gone through that several adults have not gone through, okay? And I feel like that gets ignored, it gets clouded, and it's just like the child is just a child. They don't understand what it's like to go out there and start. They don't understand that. But in a lot of times they do. They may have learned adult things at young ages, and it may have matured them at a quicker level than what it should have, but they still have that intelligence. They still have that experience, and they still have that memory. So they may be able to understand things a little differently than a child who may be 13 years old coming from a perfect home and probably has never been through anything just yet versus them. So my experience in an unstable placement was I was placed with this parent. I was like 14 years old. She was another white lady. And so, but the way she talked to me, she spoke to me in a very degrading manner. Like she always put me down, told me I couldn't do anything. I wouldn't be anything. This doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be able to do that. And she would curse at me every time she talked to me, and we butt heads constantly because I was in my defensive survival mode. And I told myself I would not ever let another adult degrade me, disrespect me, treat me anything less of a human being after coming from a home that was like that. My own parents did that to me. I do not need that from anybody else. So I was the child that I didn't tolerate too much. Okay, my skin was a little thin. I was just like, you ain't gonna talk to me like that. So that's how I was. But I learned that not a lot of people know how to communicate to someone, to a youth who is suffering from trauma, who may be so defensive, who may be quick to say something. A lot of adults don't know how to deal with that. So I later in life, understood why she may have spoken to me that way. She may not know how. So the third quality I chose was love. I feel like that is one of the big things if you're going to want to be a foster parent or a parent, period. If you want to speak to you, if you want to teach you, you want to help you, you want to make sure that it's important that you reassure the youth how much you care about them and how much you love them. Love is such a big thing. You need to have love in your heart. You need to have love for yourself, big enough to want to give to others. That is so important because if you do not love yourself, you would not be able to love them. So treating the youth like they are normal, being a parent mindset, and it is meaning like you don't just see them as a foster. You understand what they're going through. You understand what they may have gone through. But it is your job to now give them greatness. It is now your job to improve the life that they did not get. It is your job to feed them the information that they lacked, that they did not receive. That is your job. And it should be the same job if that child is not biologically yours, if the child is biologically yours. The same love that you would have for a child that you bring into this world should be the same love that you would have for a child that did not get that you are willing to help them. So in an unstable placement, not loving the child, it's not acknowledging the youth as a son or a daughter, and it's not willing to understand them in their current situation. It is just being neglectful and not wanting to understand that youth for who they are. This has happened to me in that unstable placement that I was telling y'all about earlier. This is how I was treated. I mean, I wanted to leave so bad. I was in an abusive, unstable placement at that. That foster parent later put her hands on me, and she did not want me anymore. And she lied about it. She lied to my sisters and everything. And it turned people against me. And that was not okay. And they did not acknowledge me for who I was. So the lack of encouragement and an unstable placement can truly affect a child for a long time. And it still affects me to this day. But my biggest takeaways is that you are heroes. You are heroes because you are willing to save the life of a child. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but I always do. I'm a crybaby. Please bear with me. But you are a hero because you are willing to save the lives of these youths who deserve it. They did not get the parents that they should have gotten, but they need to receive that from you. And the fact that you're willing to go out there to become parents yourselves, to become foster parents to these kids, you are willing to put your lives on the line for them. You are willing to, it takes a certain amount of courage and bravery and strength and love and patience to be willing to take on that role, to be a parent to a child who did not have that. So you are a hero because you are saving their lives. You are willing to change them. You are willing to help them when others do not. And you are human, so you will make mistakes. They will make mistakes, but it's all about being patient, and it's all about willing to forgive them. People may deter you from wanting to become a foster parent, but it is okay, because that is something that God is weighing on your hearts for you to do, and that is a calling that he has set upon you. So there may be, the enemy may try to attack you, but it will not succeed, because this is what it is for you. You are human. At the end of the day, we are perfectly imperfect, but that is the way that we were made to be. So it is okay. Do not let it deter you from wanting to take care of one of these kids because they need it. When I was in care, there were hardly any placements, any foster parents at the time. The only option was for me, if my parents didn't want to take me, I was just going to go into a group home. Those were the options for me then. That was it. And like a lot of people today, they get deterred from wanting to become parents because of the negative things that they hear, that they just believe. But there are true, genuine people who care about wanting to make a difference, who are willing to step out of themselves to help these kids. And I think that is so important. That is my biggest takeaway from you. Do not let no one tell you that you can't do it, because you can do all things through Christ who strengthens in you. And even though I got emotional, which please forgive me, that was not my plans. Those were not my plans at all. But I just wanted you to see that a youth like me who has come from, I have gone through a lot of stuff in my life, and several people know this. But I just wanted to show you that a youth like me who thought my voice didn't even matter, to have an opportunity like this, to be able to speak to other people about these things, about part of my experience, this touches me more than you will ever know. Because for a long time, being in those unstable placements, they made me feel like my voice didn't matter, that I was just little. And that some of the youth feel the same way currently today. And they don't need to feel that way anymore. So we need to inspire them and to tell them that your voice matters, that you matter. That you matter. You are still a human, and we are living these lives already. I'm already 23. I'm focused about the people who are 22 years and younger than me, because when I am gone, this is what they're going to have to deal with. This is the journey that they're going to have to walk. We are setting the stone for them, for the generations that is coming after us. We may want to make sure that this path, that this system is appropriate for them, that these placements are what's going to help them in their future, in their lives, period. So that's all I had to say for today. Thank you.
Oh man, I think I can speak for all of us and for me, but you're a world changer. I mean, you've got it in you to make the impact that needs to make. And so keep pressing in and keep doing what you're doing, because I know for myself, you've inspired me, and I can see all the comments and I know what people are feeling. And it's just, I know it's hard to tell your story, but it's so needed and it's so valuable. And it changes the trajectory of how people see foster care and how people want to help. And we are so appreciative of your time. It's not easy to sit on a Zoom call for 3 hours, by the way. I just want to thank everybody for that. I just want to thank everybody for that, and just know that that we are grateful for you for being here, everybody. I'm gonna quickly, let's see. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is, I think we answered most of the questions that were in the text box. I know a lot of people are jumping off right now because they have to go to lunch. So there's that. Really quick, I'm gonna have the panelists smile really quickly for a picture, but then as everybody jumps off, I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna pull up the website. I'm gonna let our First Lady speak, and as we're leaving, you can stay and look at our new website, or you can hop off. So picture, First Lady, and then I'll screen share the website. So picture. Kayla, you got this? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right.
Like we're all Katie, thank you so much for all your hard work. This has been her baby. So just a real short story. Katie attended last year's foster care summit here at the Governor's Mansion. And before she left, she was has her master's in school counseling, was a school counselor, and was working on getting TBRI trained. And so we grabbed her up and said, hey, we could use you in this space. And so she has just come aboard and done some great work. Just a few things. I think that we all, I know that people are jumping off, but the participants and those panelists can see the importance of need for good foster families within our system. And I know Marquita would say yes to this after hearing Antonica's story and knowing not just hers, Brianna. Thank you so much for sharing your stories today. All of you for speaking. We could not have asked for a better outcome for today's Zoom webinar. And so we're all also going to have this available. So if there's people in your church that want to see this and hear about it, a lot of you, almost all of you, I guess, on this panel did a prior video. And so we're going to have that available. So we want people, we want to be able to share this. So one of the last things I want to say is that we, before, I always say now, I think everybody's using this, prior COVID, right? Before COVID, we were planning a bus tour. Kim Bigler and Katie were really working it hard, and we had already got a lot of things getting in place for that, and then COVID. And so we're going to do a Zoom tour throughout the state coming up in the next few months. So we're going to need some of our churches who are listening to say, hey, I'll raise my hand. I'll be the connector in my community. So, you know, what it might look like is that you might be the person who initiates the Zoom, and you reach out to all those churches in your community, because there's a lot of churches we don't know that there. Like I said, there's over 4,000 churches. I think at this time, the last count, I think there was 5,000. So with that being said, we got plenty of people out there that need to recruit some wonderful families in their church. And it really is that easy. And we need good families to love these children. And that's where we are. And, you know, it can't get any simpler than that. But I always tell people, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We got people out there already doing it. You know, we got Crossroads Noel out there doing it. Anna's got all kinds of information to share, I'm sure, right, Anna? Yeah. And so, of course, DCFS, Marquita Walters is, you know, so accessible, and her team have been so gracious and helpful. And so it is just important that we all come together in this initiative of our Louisiana Fosters. One thing we are proud of that we've been working on for a while is our Louisiana Fosters website now has a map that's clickable. And so I'm pretty excited about that. So you can actually go, so you can tell your church members, you know, not everybody can be a foster care parent. I can't be I would like to. My husband says not right now. So I can't be a foster parent, but we can all do something. And how we can do that is, so many of you have mentioned it today. I know Kim mentioned it, and several others. you know, what are you doing in your community? What are you doing to help your church out? You know, Reverend Johnson, you said it too. You know, we need to step up and step in the situation and get involved. And so with that being said, you can click on our map and you can find out what's already happening in your district, your area. You know, there's all kinds of our support, our partners, you know, from Shreveport all the way down to across to New Orleans and up to the North Shore. We've got lots of people working in this space and we need your help. So if you're listening on this call, go to Louisiana Fosters. Find our website and find out what you can do in your own community. So don't say, oh, I don't have time to start today. You can start today. And on Sunday, you go to your church and you say, raise your hand if you're involved in foster care. Raise your hand if you know somebody who's involved in foster care. And I promise you, I'm almost positive you'll get more than one hand, but I know you'll get one hand. And start right there and go from there. So that's my little pitch, how we can start Louisiana Fosters and have our church step back into the arena, because they had stepped out and we need them back. And so we're going to pull them back, and we're not going to just pull them. We're going to go grab them and find them and love on them and show them how this is going to work. So thank you, thank you, thank you for our panelists, for our speakers. Marquita, thank you so much for the 3 hours. God bless each and every one of you.
All right. So as we leave, I know people are leaving out. I'm just going to share my screen. A big thank you for everybody who sacrificed 3 hours, because I mean, on a Friday morning. So we're just very thankful for that. So I'm going to share my screen. Share. Hey, hey. All right, this is our brand new website, our baby that we've been working on. If you can see it. The biggest takeaways for people here, we have right here this tab that you can scroll down, and there's no excuse for anybody to say, I don't know what I can do, because if you're a business owner, a community representative, a foster parent, and the list goes on, anything that you are, we have somewhere where you can plug in. That's an ever-growing list, and we're updating it. We have information on foster care, our resources, which is the beautiful state that we have. It's a hover over state, and you can click the resources. And if you look below, you can see statewide and regional resources. The statewide have this beautiful statewide emblem, and the rest of for regional, you'll see pop up when you choose the region that you're interested in. We have an events tab where you can share your event. You can see that we already have some TBRI events scheduled, and we'll continue to place those on there through Crossroads NOLA. We're really thankful for all that they're doing. Also, if you are a nonprofit organization, or you are a partner already, we ask that first you check out our resource list to make sure your information is correct, because we just updated everything. But you can apply to be our partner, and we'll be going through, we have some applications that we have to go through, and we'll be putting those new partners on there. So we have a contact page where you can contact us, and this gives us information on the foster care system and what it takes to be a foster parent. So there's a lot more ins and outs to it. That's just a brief overview. This is one of our really, we're excited about this. Our community partners just rotate on the bottom with their things, with their logos. So again, we thank you for your time. We thank you for being here. Most everybody has my email address and my contact information from receiving invitations. If you don't, I'm pretty easily accessible. And you'll get it after this through our post-summit send out that I send you guys in the next week. So be expecting that within the next week. So again, thank y'all so much. Let me make sure we have everything. We thank y'all for being here. Until next time.